We're very lucky to have the DDG for the Department of Water and Sanitation here, our esteemed colleagues, Jay Bhagwan from the Water Research Commission and the WPO, kind of seems to straddle both. Mr. Baloy from EISD providing the kind of broader regulatory and policy framework. And our panels gave exceptional insights into, despite being slightly kept to point in terms of time, on local regulations. The Johannesburg Water gave us some really critical insight into the kinds of things municipalities need to know in order to scale up and integrate water-efficient sanitation solutions into their legal mandate for sanitation. We heard a lot from pilot projects and lessons and from case studies, both from the private sector as well as from community groups. So it's been a very wide-ranging, interesting session so far, and we're really looking forward to day 2. Before I go and introduce day 2, what I'd like to ask you to do in the spirit of engaging you rather than just us, and so I'm going to get away from behind the podium, is if you could turn to the person on your left or right, wherever you feel comfortable, and just have a quick conversation, like 1 minute, 2 minutes. What really struck you about yesterday? One thing. If they weren't there, obviously speak to somebody else. Because you're fresh, and I'm sure you've landed at least one amazing insight in the time you've had. Can I have 4 volunteers to share one thing from your conversation? 4 volunteers, because we have 4 microphones. 1? Not you, Johan, you weren't here. Online, fantastic. Tabitha. Anyone else? Civil society, give us a wave. Someone from civil society. Jackie, thank you. Thank you very much, department. And here from WRC and the City of Cape Town. Okay, great. Before we do that, I'd like to introduce you to my co-conspirator today, Mike Makwela, who you all met yesterday if you were here, and if you didn't, you should go and look at the profile on your QR code. Mike, in the true spirit of partnership between local government and civil society, will be co-leading today. And so Mike, in this particular session, is going to help us with running microphones. Okay, so I see you waving. Oh, brilliant, thank you. We love having assistants. Okay, from the first speaker. Please keep it succinct, uncontroversial. No, you can be as controversial. All right, please introduce yourself before you say anything. Here's one that goes green. If yours isn't going green, we can fix that.
Good morning, colleagues. Denver Kluter from the City of Cape Town. I'm joined by my colleagues Andile and Dr. Valerie from the Water Resources Commission. So I think what we picked up, there was a lot of good things, and I agree with you. Brilliant, excellent. But one of the things is that a lot of cities is doing a lot of good work that not other cities knows about. So I was, for instance, very encouraged to hear the work that Tshwane is doing, which we weren't aware of from our perspective. So I think there is this need perhaps for greater collaboration between, especially the 4 cities, I think, that we know of, that's at least in the front-running space, so that we can cross-learn from each other, that, you know, maybe we do something good that they don't know about and vice versa. And then coupled to that is that there is many challenges that comes from conversations, but often we don't do a deep dive into those challenges. To say, we heard yesterday one speaker speaking about procurement challenges and another speaker saying, no, there isn't actually procurement challenges. So if we really go deeper into the conversations of what is it about procurement that is the challenge, somebody else may say, no, but this is how we tackled it. So I think it's about that deep diving for me where we need to go into.
And I would absolutely love to see human settlements facilitate a deeper conversation between the different cities that have been piloting to go in depth. I think that's got to be a clear action coming out of today. Oh, you're already geared up. Please introduce yourself as well. Would you like to get a green one? Okay, I don't know how I can...
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Tabitha Napagade, DWS. What stood out for us as a group here from yesterday is the political buy-in. I think for the longest, as officials, we have been crying out that politicians are not, you know, leading in terms of service delivery and how we ought to do based on policy and regulations. But yesterday, we have observed the politicians taking, you know, a center stage and taking leadership. So water efficient sanitation solutions, we have a backup of the leadership. Secondly, there was more of emphasis on integrated planning, that all the leading departments, they have to work together so that we can maximize on resources and work together. I think that one was more and more being stressed out. Thirdly, is the issue of social consultation. We need to facilitate the buy-in from communities. So for us to have the WESS being upscaled is when we get communities involved. I think those were the 3 areas. Thank you.
Beautiful, thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Jackie from One to One and a Civic-Elani campaign. I think what has been really, really incredible over the last day and a bit has also just been seeing the cracks through the silos, to see everyone in the same room, everyone speaking the same language from departments who sometimes are too busy to engage. And it's really nice that we have the time for people to actually connect with each other and see that we're working on the same things and maybe find those connections. And then there's always this deep fear when we see these wonderful technologies and these very exciting things coming forward of what is the experience of that going to look like on the ground? How will one person in their everyday life interact with these technologies, and what will their experience be? So I'm excited to see if that comes out in a really good, positive way for both the wealthy that we spoke about as well as the poor. And how will we engage with those technologies? So that one is a fear. And then the speed of implementation. Like, this is good. Can we move? And quickly.
Thank you so much. And I think this is our last contribution. Here we are. The department, ever strong.
Yes, absolutely. So our commission here, the way that really came out that summarizes our discussion was actually enthusiasm. Moving from, sanitation has been said to be invisible, and the type of enthusiasm from all stakeholders yesterday was quite inspiring. Another term is actually a play of the disease called poliomyelitis, that we've been piloting quite a lot of good work, but we seem to be stuck at pilot myelitis. and we need to move away from pilots to actually scaling up and mainstreaming the type of work that must happen. And we now know that there is funding. We need to equally be enthusiastic about tapping into the funding and drawing down into the various funding and finance mechanisms that were shared with us yesterday. And I know that today we are going to explore some of those mechanisms as well. Thank you.
Beautiful, thank you very, very much. And exactly right. So today, two big foci are exactly that. Number one, what is the technology validation process? And we're going to be led through that process by our moderator, Mr. William Maraka from SALGA, who I'll introduce in a moment. And then Ramona Reddy will take us through the issues around financing. Right? So obviously we have funding and we have financing. The WPO is talking about financing and how to draw down, how to get those business plans in place to make this a reality. And then we're going to hear from our innovators. We're going to hear directly in 4-minute pitches in an idea directly stolen from our sanitation conference in Durban earlier this year to make pitches around the technology. And Mike's going to take us through that. We'll talk about the circular economy, the action plan for the city of Joburg, and then we're going to close off with closing remarks. After we've had a Q&A and a conversation with you again, because this was immensely rewarding. And let's keep doing it. And not over-planning things so we don't hear from people in the room. So with that, please, feel free, at ease. Please can I invite Mr. William Maraka to come forward, who's going to be moderating our panel today on the different technology validation and research development processes. William is leading innovation in SALGA. He did used to lead in water and sanitation about 100 years ago when I first met him and worked with him. And so he's someone who cross-cuts between digital, between tech, and between water and sanitation. And we're very, very excited to have you moderate. William, we're being extremely strict with 45 minutes per panel. Don't be cross with us. Let's look at the standards, let's look at the research, and good luck. Thank you.
No, great. However, I was watching yesterday and you went over time.
That wasn't us.
No, great. Good morning, colleagues. My name is William Maraka. I'm with SALGA, and it's great to be here. Alana, when she introduced me, she said, I used to be in the water space, Miss Aveni. And I must say, Johan, I got tired, colleagues. I was not too sure if we were progressing or regressing, Valerie. And I thought for my sins, perhaps let me venture into something different and see what emerges out of that. So, nonetheless, we are here, colleagues. We are chairing a session looking at technology validation, research, development, and innovation. I hope you are at the right session. Yeah? Great. Colleagues, I want to start with 2 quotes, and there will be a prize for any one of you who's going to remember these 2 quotes. I promise you there will be a prize. So Jack Welch, as we know him, he's the ex-chairperson and CEO of General Electric, once said, if the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. Are you with me? So essentially, if we were to bring it here, the rate of what is happening out there versus the rate of what we're doing, if there's no match, we will be in trouble. So that's the first quote. And then the second quote that I got a lot of inspiration from John Stemmen, who is with the MIT, once said, today's problems often arise as unintended consequences of yesterday's solutions, right? Remember, colleagues, we were quite excited to have flush toilets and this and that. And today, those particular solutions that we deployed yesterday are actually giving us a problem today, right? So remember those two codes. With that said, colleagues, the purpose of the session essentially is to strengthen evidence-based. Even from a SALGA's point of view, that's the direction that we're taking. We want evidence-based. And then secondly, to look at how do we begin to enable scale up in whatever that we're going to do. And really the desired outcome is to look at adoption, scaling up, mainstreaming of WESS in the sector. And to help us unpack that, we have an esteemed panel. Am I using the right word, esteemed? Yeah? May I call my panelists, and let me start with the lady. Doc Prayan, please, you want to come up here, please? Followed by, and I see Doc Baloy, you are just here, please join us. And then Ephraim from DSTI, and I'll introduce them in a short while. So these are the clever people who are going to help us to unpack the validation, the scaling up, and the likes. In your program, you would have seen that we have Prof. Masindi. She could not make it, but gladly requested one of her colleagues, Dr. Baloy, to be here. And Dr. Precious Biela from WESS could not make it either, and she was requesting to join online, but we could not accommodate that. With that said, let's start, colleagues, and we'll start with the lady first, Dr. Prayan. She is a deputy director from the WASH. I'm sure we all know what WASH stands for. Not the washing, not WASH. From the R&D Center, and she is a guru on these kind of WESS things. So that's a short introduction in interest of time. So perhaps, Doc, let's just start with you. I mean, drawing from your deep involvement, your deep experience in testing and validating this WESS, what would you say are some of the key gaps in South Africa, that essentially we need to really address in validating and verification or verifying in the ecosystem of WESS? Over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, William, and morning to all. I think what has been clearly understood now is that we've demonstrated what is technologically possible with the innovation that has come out of the SASTEP program and other initiatives nationally as well as globally. Right now, we have realized while we've been field testing technologies is that there's it needs to be a systems approach rather than a technology approach, because when you look at technologies, it's usually looking at technical performance, it's looking at safety, and ensuring that public health and the environment is protected. But looking broader at the system, you now need to look at a validation approach, because when you look at sanitation, and especially sanitation at this scale, and scale I mean that it's close to the user, is now you're looking at social acceptance, you're looking at variable loading, the fact that the system, besides looking at the concentration of the influent coming in, it is usage of the system and behavioral characteristics. So the missing gap really is, besides us having product standards, is a nationally recognized validation protocol, and looking at how we can validate to ensure that these systems have long-term operation, it's used as it's intended, And hence Tabitha mentioning earlier about the social facilitation. That's a key characteristic or aspect in the validation process. And then trying to understand the life cycle costs, true life cycle costs of these systems, the capacity to operate and maintain these systems. And there's, as much as the ISO 3500 standard, looking at the gold standard in sanitation, has dictated the operating and maintenance needs of such systems. Looking holistically at WESS, there's various criteria that needs to be integrated into it, from the human capacity, from the components point of view, the water usage, electrical usage, and then moving further on along climate resilience and making sure that these systems are durable, they have stable operation, and the structural integrity of the system is maintained over all of the climatic risks that the country is currently facing. So to summarize, William, I know you told me to be short, but it's the there's lots of data that is being pulled from various institutions. It's not just UKZN and the SASTEP program that has been collecting data. Independent consultants have been evaluating these systems, but I think right now the next step is to have a nationally recognized validation framework that it's agreed upon. It's telling municipalities that these systems work and building the confidence that they require to procure these systems at scale.
No, great. I think as a follow-up to my next question, and thanks, Doc, for that. And I was quite excited to hear you talking about a systems approach, the validation protocols and the likes. And I think it's going to be critical, perhaps, maybe just to help us deepen understanding on these two elements, particularly systems thinking and the validation protocols. How will these standards help us to really enable WESS to be scaled up?
Okay, so standards. A standard is a guideline, right? It's almost like a rule book that's telling you. Essentially, it is there to ensure that from a product point of view, that it is designed to a specific specification, that it performs at a specific threshold, and as well as that it is safe to use. The importance of certification is that it builds that confidence, because municipalities are naturally risk adverse. And looking at these sanitation systems, the aspect of certification brings about that quality assurance, that the product has been tested to a specific criteria, it's independently tested by a third party, and that stamp of approval is there. I mean, when you buy even a tap, you tend to look for that SABS approved mark, right? The same goes with sanitation technologies and products. And it's not just looking at the treatment system, but the various components that are integrated into it. But when we look at WESS, and as speaking about it before, about it being a system, I think the management of WESS needs to be certified. And that's where we are trying to lead, is that we're stepping away from just product standards being integrated into the ecosystem, but management standards. So then you ensure the operation and maintenance is done. The social facilitation and user acceptability is integrated into it. The broader stakeholder engagement. So you, Val always puts it as sanitation, these sanitations being political, socio-technical, political. And so the various stakeholder engagement is done to ensure that these systems are operated and maintained as it's intended. I mean, if you look at this, and if it's done properly, these systems can operate for at least 15 to 20 years, ensuring that the proper O&M and the capacity to undertake the O&M is done. And then the social facilitation is a continuous thing. It's not just merely at the beginning when you're trying to put in the system, but understanding user behavioral, cultural specifications, and how that can implicate on the operation of the system is important in the wider scale out of these systems. So certification brings about confidence, and it ensures that the system is functional for its lifespan.
Great, thanks for that. Tabang, you had said we are battling from this illness. Actually, we beat it from pilot to scaling up. There's a particular terminology that you use. And maybe, Dr. Balo, you can just help us in your experience as the CSIR. Because you do a lot of research, you do a lot of testing, and you are one of the, I would call you guys, an entity that this country is proud of in terms of the work that you do, right? And perhaps maybe just help us in your experience to say what are the critical factors that you think will enable this WESS to happen from, and not WESS as in WORSE, colleagues, not WESS, the WESS. How do we move from scaling up, from pilots to scaling up this particular solution? Over to you. Thanks.
Oh, thanks, Chair, and then good morning to all the attendees. Yeah, it's quite a challenge in a sense that in most cases the innovators much focus on the technical outputs rather than focusing on evidence-based outputs, and that has been a huge challenge. And then it starts with misalignment with the municipalities, failure to understand what exactly are the priorities within the municipalities, the integrated development plans. You can't be innovating and without even understanding the IDPs within that particular municipalities, and then also their water service development plans. So those are some of the critical issues that one really have to align into. And then what also have made us maybe as the CSR, in my experience, should be maybe getting some of the things right is that first, when you look on the piloting which we do, it's not just a tick box exercise. So some of the municipalities, even including Joburg, they can agree with me. We have put the pilots in their facilities for a very long time because we need a very concrete evidence. And immediately when we step, and equalities, employees should not be observers, but they need to be involved in the process. So the problem we do as innovators, we think that hiding what exactly we're doing to assist them, it makes us to put us maybe to be superior than them, and that's a very big mistake. So then we really need to engage them from the first day. From the first legal documents which we put down, they should be involved. The first day we get into the plant, they should be involved. And then how does that assist us? And then the implementation and adoption of this pilot scale, it just comes natural because they feel like you have introduced something which they own, not something which they see from far, maybe disturbing their process within the plant. So the alignment with the municipalities and making sure that they get involved in whatever we do, it's really doing a great work. And then I will just, in brief, just touch on the issues of the team. The multidisciplinary team has been working for us very well. We even moved to the point that the project, which is cut across the clusters of the CSR, get to be awarded in terms of your performance. So meaning to work in silos, I can be a technical person, but we have the social scientists which are involved from day one where we put the proposal to that municipalities. These understand the end user requirement in terms of the acceptance of the beneficiaries, which are the communities. So you cannot want to innovate and force technologies which the community is not accepting. That's one of the key things, that we need to have a very multidisciplinary team in all areas. Thanks, Chair.
Great. Perhaps let me just check with the program directors. How much, up until what time do we have? 10:15. Okay, yeah, because I was panicking if it was going to be 10 o'clock. Okay, no, great. So perhaps maybe Doug also help us to unpack, because we've really invested a lot of money as a sector and as a country in unearthing new things, right? And perhaps maybe just describe in a sentence or two to say, from where you're sitting as a CSIR, where do you think we should be focusing a lot of our R&D going forward, particularly looking at some of the challenges that we're faced with in South Africa?
All right, thanks, Chair. You put it quite well. There's a lot of innovations which, as a country, we're not lagging in that space. And then, but what I think we need to focus on now, we need to really zoom on what are the critical challenges which we can then tackle to transform the service delivery, rather than looking only on the technological development, because we have been doing well in the space. And then when you look in our country, we have a challenge in terms of the water infrastructure, which is not functioning to the way it's supposed to function. We know that we have a challenge in terms of losing a lot of water which we cannot account for. And then when you look on these challenges, one thing which one could think about and link to the future, the non-sewer systems which are not really have to put the strain in terms of your centralized network systems. And then that can assist a lot as we deal with the problem which we have in terms of making sure that we get the infrastructure back to where it's supposed to be. That's very key for the future. And then what we can then put in terms of assisting to then create employment around those, because the communities, once they get involved, they not only assist these systems to make sure that they deliver what it's supposed to deliver, but they serve also as a security to this system in terms of vandalization. So we really also need to look in terms of the issues around the circular economy. We had one conference which the CSR was talking about how then do we have to convert the urine to slow release fertilizers for agriculture. And then that you do it within that particular building in terms of the collection, and then you make sure that you innovate, and then when you do that, and then you can untap into other economic opportunities which are uplifting the communities where these technologies are being adopted and then by the municipality. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Doc. I get one of these days, our P will be an economic value. So going forward, as part of the R&D, our P colleagues. Great. Let's move on then to the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, represented by my brother there, Braif. We work very closely, so I can easily call him Braif. So he drives a lot of innovations within the department, and most importantly that he is responsible, amongst others, for a particular pace that he would take us through, as we ask these questions. So Braif, we do know, colleagues, that, but it's been said that there could be, and I'm using the fund, could actually help us accelerate some of these innovations in the sector. That is the pace that I'm talking about. Technology, Acquisition, Development Fund.
Okay, thank you so much, Program Director. Perhaps let me introduce myself and the department. Yesterday, when people were speaking, they forgot to mention the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation in many cases. The pilot cases that were mentioned by the City of Cape Town, they were actually funded by the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation in partnership with the Bill & Melinda Gates Foundation. We've got a lot in eThekwini. We've got some in the city of Joburg. So we've been doing these pilots that everyone says we must move from pilots now to mainstream implementation. As the department, we are very excited that now there is this call out of everyone to say, let's move to mainstream implementation of water efficient sanitation technologies, because 10 years back when we invested in the SASTEP, we foresaw that we are going to have a problem going forward with this flushing. Now there is a call by everyone in the municipalities to say, let's now go the water efficient sanitation system route. We are very excited. In the department, we do have a fund, and then there is multiple of funds actually, but let me speak about this one. It's called Technology Acquisition and Deployment Fund. What we have realized is that we've been funding technologies or ideas until they get to the stage where they could be commercialized. But they never get to be commercialized because people don't have confidence in those technologies. Now, as the department, we saw it as our role to build confidence on the technology itself. So we'd say to the innovator, you have innovated this technology, is at technology readiness level 6. So you are just one step away from commercialization. No one will never buy it because they've never seen it anywhere functioning. So only us as the department, if we buy it from you, then people are able to see it functional on site. They would be able to buy it. So how we work around site, one of the requirements when you apply to us as an innovator, we say, go and speak support to say the municipality or the water board is interested in it, and that gives us confidence to invest in it. We call it a user client. Now going forward, you as the municipality or as the water board or as the department, you are able to have confidence on the technology itself because you have seen it working in a live environment. So that's how the Technology Acquisition and Deployment Fund is working. Chair, perhaps let me also chip in what we are thinking of as the department currently. We are now moving towards taking science, technology, and innovation to the center of service delivery. DST is going through a restructuring now, and one of the instructions is that we want to see science, technology, and innovation enabling service delivery on the ground. So the unit that I work for going forward is going to be called Innovation for Basic Service Delivery. So we'd be assisting in the space of water, in the space of sanitation, and in the space of electricity, alternative electricity systems. So that's where we are going as the department, and that's why we want to take research that has been happening at all these universities, in the CSIR, in the National Research Foundation, to the communities to benefit the people of South Africa. Thank you, Chair.
Great, thanks, colleagues. So perhaps maybe, because I did hear that the audience was not engaged yesterday, we do have a bit of time before I revert to the panelists. I'd like to open up for some few reflections, particularly on what the panel members have indicated. And one of the key ones that I have observed that emerged is having a validation protocol, right, as one of the key elements, takeaways from this. So we want to invite your good selves just to reflect on some of the things that the panel have said. And please, for those who have worked with me, I'm too much of a progressive person, right? So please. So as you make your suggestion, let those suggestions be progressive in nature so that we then move forward. Any takers on what the panel have said? This is your opportunity. There we go, City of Cape Town. Any other hand? Number 2, number 3, and number 4. Okay, let's take those 4. And please, sweet, sharp, to the point. Let's take number 1.
Good morning, dear. I think I want to let on Dr. Ian. He's also one of my interested
topics when it comes to validation. And I like the fact that you're now starting to say, there's this need to validate the technology, but also validate the management system. But I think beyond that, perhaps also the validating of the community itself. And even if you perhaps not issue like a certification, but then a sort of guideline to say that the validation is valid under these community dynamics. So that as a municipality, you can then select your communities with that in mind, to say that if a community does not adhere to this set of conditions, then the technology won't work. Or to say that you should then bring your community to this profile before bringing the technology. So that sort of strong guideline and community profiling worked into the validation process, I think, would be quite good.
I think from my side, just to say that the validation we're talking about is not a new thing. It's being derived as a precursor step to the ISO 3500. So it's very much based in quite a bit of global engagement around how to roll out a quality technical standard. And the reason why we're talking about the validation as a precursor is right now, because WESS is not being procured all over. The suppliers of this tech don't have the money to do the full ISO accreditation. So the certification process is a little bit delayed in the country. SABS has not come forward because right now the business case, because the demand is not there. Once we get the demand, then we can move to full ISO 3500 with whatever revisions make sense for South Africa. But I want to then maybe reiterate what Denver is saying. Because while we're validating a tech and a product, there is a need to almost certify whether it's an operator or janitor, a technician, an advanced technician stage for WESS technologies, if we really want to truly embed this category of technologies into our sanitation delivery plan. And that means that somehow or the other we need to bring maybe the TVET colleges, EWCETA in, and to roll out standardized certifications and training so that whether you're an operator in Cape Town and you maybe move to Northern Cape, you could go and still provide services to that technology going forward, either seek jobs within that industry spectrum. And I think that level of transferable skills does two things. It solves a service delivery problem, but it actually adds more dignity to also the people that are working in the sanitation phase.
Yeah. All right. No, thank you very much. My name is Johannesburg. I'm from the National Department of Human Settlements. I think earlier on there was an issue to say, what is human settlements? We're here, and we've been here yesterday. So thank you. Mine goes to accompanied by so much demand in service delivery that needs to cater for this kind of areas. And what we are also but realizing is the scaling down of the fiscus. So obviously you need to be more innovative. You got to understand that there's not always money to be able to respond to all the demands and all the needs within the communities as such. So the one question I've got, and please do share with us, what would be the plan of this new unit you're talking about, scaling science, technology, innovation amongst informal settlements within your department and within the unit? I just would be interested to find out if you're to perhaps share with us what the plans are, what is it looking like, and what is the intention like for your department. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Bongani Khadebe from Gauteng Department of Education within the infrastructure unit.
My question is, within the
department, we do have schools where they have septic tanks, and we also have schools where we hire chemical toilets, which is not favorable for the department, and we are spending a lot of money in terms of dislodging those septic tanks, as well as hiring out chemical toilets. Yeah, my question is, how can we access funding so that we can implement some of the solutions that have been presented in some other schools within Gauteng province? Thank you.
Great. Thanks, audience, for those inputs and reflections. And some of them we might not have to answer them today. The panelists would reflect on them, and this is an ongoing discussion. But let me invite the panelists, and perhaps maybe let's start with Doc on my right-hand side, and then we'll go flow that way. And then directly after that, I see the program director is on her feet. It shows that an element ya monanyana. We took what a pass again. We took what a pass again. Again, hey, over to you.
Thanks, William. I think I just wanted to comment is that we're not starting from scratch, and we are grateful for all of the stakeholder ecosystem that we have. So in terms of the validation, from what we've learned from all of the pilots and all of the work that has been going on in the different sectors, is that we have a provisional validation protocol that we wish to sense check, and that does include the social aspects and understanding the limit, I would say the appropriateness of the tech in different social contexts. So we're looking for money for that. But also in a separate stream, and what Val highlighted is the human capacity to operate these systems. And it's not just at a grassroots level. We're looking at community development and looking at employability within the community itself for general maintenance and cleaning of the system. But going a step further, where we now bring in electricians, plumbers, and other sectors into almost a mid-tier, where they could be responsible for repairing and maintaining the system. And then going higher level, a question asked about where the money is coming from. I mentioned we're putting in these systems because of our water scarcity issue. But then there's also the issue of building climate resilient infrastructure. And there's a lot of money in the climate financing space. So if we start investing now in these systems and demonstrating it as climate resilient sanitation infrastructure, then we can start going to the World Banks and looking at climate resilient and unlocking that type of financing for scaling up these systems.
Okay. I'm going to start with the last question from Mr. Bongani. How do we access the fund? Yesterday, there was a bold statement by the group executive from DBSA that funding is not an issue. Perhaps many people just do not know how to access that fund. And for me, I think one of the things we may want to do out of this session is to try and find ways and means to assist municipalities to access different funding opportunities that are available. I've always held the same view that perhaps funding may not be an issue, but municipalities do not know of the opportunities, funding opportunities that exist. And perhaps one of the way forward out of this session is how to assist municipalities to get these funding opportunities that are all over, looking for municipalities, but municipalities cannot access them. Then back to the question from the Department of Human Settlements, my colleague. I was speaking to Francois earlier, and it was said he didn't know that there is a unit in the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation that is looking at human settlements. He never thought that DSTI could be involved in human settlements. Even when I was introducing myself to some colleagues yesterday, they were saying, DSTI, about AI, they only think of AI, but not about these other innovations. So we are involved in municipalities, my brother. We have a huge program called Validation and Viability of Innovation for Service Delivery. We have piloted it. We are now moving into a mainstream implementation of that program because we have a whole lot of municipalities, close to 35, that are participating in the program and are using science, technology, and innovation to improve their own services. Now we are broadening the implementation of the same program. So internally, we were given the mandate to say each and every senior manager in the department should champion a municipality. Go to that municipality, come back with the salient challenges in that municipality, and then we start allocating budgets per district municipality. You can tell that what I'm saying sounds big, we would have to work with the Department of Human Settlements, with the Department of Cooperative Governance, and we are busy doing that. So soon we'll actually engage with your department for a possible cooperation on how we proceed in all these things. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. If I was a pilot of a particular airline, you know, that airline lands on time. I won't mention their names because it'll be free aid. I would safely say we are about to land. And perhaps maybe let me just ask my panelists just to give the final thoughts. But as you do that, just indicate one thing that you think is quite critical for us to move forward with. And let me start with you, Ephraim, and then move this way.
So I wouldn't speak of the funding that I spoke about, but personally, Mr. Moraka, I'm a big fan of community participation. In my previous life in the Department of Human Settlements, I used to work with Planact, where we got communities to come and build houses for themselves. Now that we are introducing water-efficient sanitation, we need the communities to be at the forefront. Through the VVISDP, we delivered 100 sanitation technologies in Mbombela. The technology is out here, I can't mention it, in Mbombela. And one thing for sure, you want the communities to be the one to deal with all the problems that could be arising, which means when you implement, you need to bring champions out of the community so that they can do operations and maintenance and replace parts where there is a need to replace parts. If you are going to leave that to the municipality, it's a problem because the municipal official could be 100 kilometers away and cannot be in this area every day. So community participation when we introduce WESS is going to be very, very, very critical. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My last word, I will just say that innovators, we need to then move from technology development focus, and then we then now focus on the service delivery transformation. That will aid in terms of that acceptance of the technologies which we have been saying that we have piloted. And then some point I know many might be disappointed that they don't find an acceptance when it comes to the municipalities. And then these are some of the issues which I've mentioned when the question was asked first, that are we really aligned? Are we that these innovations serving the purpose in terms of the key issues around the service delivery? The DSI spoke about the issues around the water, electricity, and all those. And then we also, the misperception in terms of we just want to digitalize everything, even where we find that the alternatives are there to provide the solution to the communities. So I would say let's focus on how can we transform the service delivery with all the innovations which we have. Thanks.
For me, I think when we look at non-sewage sanitation, it was a small cult that thought that we were developing a glorified hole in the ground. But now I think that cult is developing into this much broader ecosystem, and I'm glad to see that there's so many government departments working together. Now we're bringing in the municipalities, research institutions, the innovators, the science councils, but then also bringing in the industry partners, so like the tech developers and the innovators and commercial partners, standards bodies. We need to look at how we're going to implement this at scale is bringing about this sanitation ecosystem. We're not there as yet, but we're definitely building in the different blocks that can be used to create this ecosystem. And I think that's definitely how we need to go in terms of implementing this at scale.
Great. Thanks, colleagues. Perhaps maybe just help me to thank the panelists. Thank you so very much. Let's give them a round of applause. And then back to the program director. Thank you.
Can you join me in giving a round of applause to our moderator? Thank you so much. What an insightful and interesting panel. It's extraordinary, and this was the point we made early in the morning, is that we are setting the tone here for intersectoral collaboration, that this is hosted so strongly by our MMC for Human Settlements, and to have DSTI engaging too in working this through, for all of us to be integrating the word service delivery into our sectors. And with that, I would really like to acknowledge our MMC, Jack Sechwaila, who is here from Environment, Infrastructure and Service Delivery. So thank you very much for joining us. And obviously, Mr. Mbasa, always fantastic to have you here. Please, can we make sure that when you do speak, you use this microphone, not the one sitting next to you? Because those ones we learned yesterday are just kaput. With all due respect.
DBSA is a rehabilitation. We should start refurbishing.
Hand over to my co-program director.
MMC, I'm MC today. Are you ready? Thank you. My work is simple. I am going to invite the moderator of this session. Chelet, we need to talk about money. Yeah, we can have plans and all those things, but where is the Chelet coming from? So the money part is very important. Mayor Ramona Reddy Mudure, she is a manager of the non-sewer sanitation program at the Water Partnership Office of the DBSA. She's a registered professional engineering technologist with over 20 years of experience in infrastructure development, specializing in water sector. She has played a very key role in preparing and financing strategic water and sanitation infrastructure project. Join me in welcoming Mayor.
Good morning, everyone, and greetings to the MMCs, all protocols observed. So welcome, everyone, to, I think, the most important, the million rand question, or multi-million rand question, where is the money coming from? And by the show of the turnout, and as Val said yesterday, the technology is proven, it's available, it's about financing and moving. So we know and we've heard that there is a scarcity of money. We are stretched in the public sector in terms of providing resources. So with the economics of money, let's look elsewhere. And there is big potential in the private sector and even from users themselves to fund and finance these projects. So we need to see how we leverage this. And given the sanitation backlogs and water security that we have to manage, we have to look at how best to mobilize public and private sector financing to support the adoption of WESS. So we've got representation from the public and the private sector today, and we're going to see how we can bring together the different perspectives and explore funding and financing to scale WESS in South Africa. And we are joined by one of our members online. So allow me to first introduce Hezekiah Pyre, who is from UN Habitat. He is joining us all the way from Nairobi. And Hezekiah has got over 27 years of experience in the water sanitation governance space and policy development, as well as institutional strengthening, looking at water resilient service delivery. And his work focuses on strengthening local government capacity as well as fostering stakeholder participation, which we are seeing is very crucial in walking in this journey together, where he focuses on looking at informal settlements and slums in the water and sanitation space. I'm just confirming that Hezekiah is online. I'm looking to this guy as welcome. Okay, we cannot hear if it can be sorted.
Hello?
Okay, now we hear you. Hello.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Mona, for the introduction.
Okay.
So do you want me to start or?
No, we will be joined by the other
Okay.
members. Next,
Great. Okay.
Johannes, he had a question earlier. If we can welcome him to the front. Johannes is the Chief Director for Grant Management Services at the National Department of Human Settlements. And he's got extensive experience in strategic leadership and grant management in the public sector. And he oversees conditional grants across provincial and municipal spheres in various sectors. So thank you very much for joining us. And then we have Alessandro Scalco from Rand Merchant Bank. Alessandro is a blended finance lead. He has been with the First Rand Group since 2014, and he's been working on what we are interested in, which is the Cape Water Bond Performance Management Instrument. And he's got vast experience in various sectors, from healthcare, education, as well as property development and water and sanitation. And then penultimately, we are joined by Dr. Misaveni Ngobeni, who is the head of strategic partnerships at IFISA. And Misaveni has 2 decades of experience, 11 of which was at the National Treasury, where he led strategic infrastructure financing and mobilized multi-billion rands of infrastructure, as well as Ngobeni has a PhD in and master's in tax and policy and public finance from the University of Pretoria. So welcome. And then finally, we are joined by Mr. Alvandre Brooks, who is a senior investment officer from the Development Bank of Infrastructure, and he's involved in deal origination and structuring with multi-sector experience, particularly with the municipalities. And he's got over 15 years experience in the space, and he's led multiple investment projects. And he has been with Business Partners Limited, and he's got a strong interest in leveraging finance, which is what we are interested in. So, gentlemen, let's start with the difficult questions first. Now, I want to go to RNB and the DBSA and to find out, what is the current strategy for funding sanitation, given that it is more social than even water. There isn't much emphasis placed within the sector because there isn't a lot of financial leveraging and financial opportunity. If you can please touch on twofold on what the strategy for the DBSA and the RMB is, as well as how you foresee leveraging and accelerating WESS.
Thank you for having me today, and thank you for the question. So I think from an RMB perspective, we really look at it in terms of, and we're a commercial bank, but we also do quite innovative structures. So Ramona mentioned the Cape Water Performance-Based Bond, which was the first of its kind in the world to do an outcome-based bond by a commercial bank. And we've recently also just launched securitization funding property entrepreneurs in informal communities. So we definitely are looking at more social and seeing how we can fund more into the more social side of things. I always say in the space, funding's a spectrum. So you're going to find some of the deals and some of the sort of projects are just unfortunately going to have to be funded by grants, and that's the nature of it. It doesn't mean they can't move from a grant to a commercial model. And I think that's where it's trying to see what you can use and what tools are out there from a de-risking, what instruments are out there to be able to bring that to market. I think from an RMB perspective, we are very willing to look at those type of deals. We're willing to look to structure them and where the fundamentals stack up to finance them. So, I mean, ultimately, mention was made of the private sector. The private sector is always going to look at the fundamentals first of any transaction. It's just core to what you do, and even DBSA does. I mean, I've worked with the DBSA team, and it's the first thing they look at is the fundamentals of a deal. So, you know, I think it's always going to have to be, do the fundamentals stack up, but there are tools and means to make those fundamentals stack up. And the previous speaker mentioned the sort of funds that are used to help those first-time, you know, projects, and those are things which help develop that. And I think what's really important, what I've noticed in my space really, is just sometimes the disconnect from that fund to what the commercial market needs to see is where there's sometimes a disconnect. And I think if we can start to bridge and help those smaller projects get even investable, i.e. it's small things like preparing financial statements, making sure they've got the correct governance in place, those are the elements which are sometimes missed in those early stage funding, that then when you take it to a bank or to finance, just kind of trip it up. So yeah, I think, you know, really we are willing to fund it, but the fundamentals always have to stack up.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think firstly, if we look at the traditional way of sort of funding sanitation, I really don't think we're going to be able to clear the backlog. You know, if we just keep on doing the same sort of approach that we've been following. So evidence does show that there is capital available. The struggle really is the quality of these projects. You know, so at the DBSA, we've developed a sort of an integrated approach that really assists municipalities when it comes to project preparation, the sort of planning. We even assist with the financing and the building and the implementation thereof as well. So really participating across the entire value chain. So our strategy really isn't just one of financing. It's about building these sanitation businesses that can attract financing, absorb it in the business, and really utilize the capital to sort of expand and to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Johannes, I'm going to shift a little away from, you know, the conventional and put you on the spot a bit. So there's the USDGs, the NDPs, a lot of grants available. Given that government is the biggest funder of large infrastructure, particularly sanitation, how is the department gearing itself to support WESS, particularly in the form of grants, to also open up the market and encourage the uptake of WESS?
No, thank you very much. And once again, good morning. And let me take the opportunity to greet all the colleagues who are here, and of course our political principals, and appreciate really the leadership in this regard is much appreciated. For returning to the question, here goes the thing. I thought when we were preparing, obviously we have to prepare for this session in the morning, and I thought yesterday, what is it that we're taking from our discussions? And I want to take out two things. You asked a question earlier on, what is it that stood out? What stood out for me was actually what was not there. And what was not there is our colleagues from National Treasury. And I thought, do we have colleagues from National Treasury in the space? And I kept on looking around. I didn't want to look at Mr. Vane. He used to be there before as my colleague. He's no longer there. So I thought maybe I'm confusing with some, but I think the reason for that is because of the word integrated planning and the word integrated way of doing things. That to me really goes a long way. And I must say, I'm starting with it because from a human settlement perspective, you see, you cannot have a house that exists without a school, that exists without a hospital, that exists without a form of a road leading somewhere, that exists without water or sanitation, that exists without social amenities. I'm talking your libraries, I'm talking your multi-purpose community centers and so on. You can't. So therefore, the transition in those years from Department of Housing to Human Settlements was exactly that human settlement is in the space, and then it cannot be able to function by itself. It's got to be a concurrent function. It is a concurrent function. So we find ourselves that in this space, though, and what exactly is it the kind of, what role are we playing with other departments that are involved in service delivery? So when you look at it, and I looked at the numbers, earlier on that you spoke about, let's talk money. What numbers are we talking about in answering your question? Just the last 3 financial years, right? And I'll take out BFI a bit. Just the last 3 financial years for City of Johannesburg, from human settlement perspective, we're talking about USDG. 1.8 billion has been invested. 1.8. So therefore, if ever it's 1.8, and we keep on saying, it reminds me of my former DG will always say, human settlement grants are lazy grants. Maybe water and sanitation, WCK and RBIC are not as lazy grants as human settlement grants are. That is because, you are saying that because of, we do not really leverage on that. If ever then 1.8 billion has been disbursed out there, what value creation has been created on the ground? And secondly, what is it that 1.8 could have actually then bought us from private sector? So then let's then look into then the city of Johannesburg itself. So for the current financial, for example, you will have a 2.3 billion of just USDG alone, just USDG. Now out of that, about 963 come from the DBSA in the form of the BFI. But then of that, when you take the allocation just for WESS, but you can say water and sanitation, then we're looking at about almost 700 million. So that is almost 30%, arguably. For the last 3 years, arguably about average of about 30% has been going to that. But then the question then is, out of this, then why is it that seemingly we still continue to have a problem with what has been invested? Are we realizing that on the ground? We can also just go give another example of the Northern Cape, for example. They've got that upfront loading system that they used and then together with DBSA. Has it actually created that? When the money arrived, as the group executive was saying yesterday, and then the money has been availed, but then is it actually being implemented in a way that we realize that which we so desperately want to see as service delivery? So sometimes money is availed, but then I think it's how it is being utilized and the impact of it on the ground. So let's not miss that. And then the issue again of enhancing our M&E initiative. Program Director, allow me about the M&E. I don't know how many of you, if ever you have been in a space of government, have you ever been to a project that is reporting? If ever you're a finance person like myself, you work on transversal system, BUS is one of them, and it's spending us, you say, you know what, colleagues, we're hitting the ground, we are off to the Free State, for example. And then you get on the ground, this project that is spending so well, you find nothing. Has it ever happened? Yes. And you find nothing. But the expenditure is here reported. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. So therefore, the issue of value created is so important in that we may not be reporting to our political principles. No, we have spent 100%, Minister, MMC, we have reported 100%, the money has been spent, but what exactly has been created? So therefore, the issue of enhancing this, the M&E initiative for us is very important. Of course, colleagues have spoken about the issue of technology. I think they've gone into detail about it. So that for us is also important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think the key takeaway is how the money is spent in a sustainable manner and not just more chemical toilets.
I can go there.
No, yeah, that's a messy topic. Hezekiah, you know, from a UN Habitat point and from a developing country perspective, there's a lot of underfunded projects, even though there's social, environmental, and economic merit. From your perspective and a global context, you know, what innovative financing will be workable in the South African context and just accelerating investment for WESS as a whole from what you've dealt with?
Thank you very much, moderator. I hope that you can hear me. The internet is a bit intermittent.
Yes, you are audible.
No, thank you very much. So I am very glad that I'm not the only human settlements voice in the panel, because in our space, particularly in UN Habitat, our perspective is not that sanitation is just a water sanitation hygiene issue. We look at it as a human settlements issue that is at the heart of housing, climate resilience, and slum transformation. So the way that we respond to questions of this nature may be different from the perspective that we bring into this debate. And I think the first important thing to note is that domestic public finance remains the backbone of the financing in the sanitation sector. So the challenge is not really to mobilize more resources, but I think to use the public resources more strategically to unlock private investment and to also support climate finance. And to answer your question, I think from our perspective, there are a number of financing facilities that many speakers have talked about since yesterday. But the important lesson really is that these financing instruments alone do not unlock investment in the sector. What differentiates a successful country like South Africa from the rest of the countries is the presence of a strong enabling environment. So we're looking at political commitment, we're looking at sound policies, effective regulation of the sector, strong institutions, and clear investment pipelines that then attract financing. So where these fundamentals exist, and I'm glad that the panelists that have spoken before me have really put it that they are ready and willing to support, but fundamentals must be in place, and these are the fundamentals that we're talking about. So precisely, we are working at a continental level with AMCAO, the African Ministerial Council on Water, to promote the Africa Sanitation Policy Guidelines so that we create an enabling environment, we strengthen governance, policy frameworks on the continent, institutional coordination of the sector, because sanitation is a very cross-cutting sector, improving accountability, which many of us shy to talk about in panels of this nature. Sanitation is not just a service, it's a serious accountability issue if we want it to happen. So I think these are conditions that then create sustainable sanitation investment. The second lesson that we must learn is that sanitation should be repositioned as an economic investment rather than a social cost. We know that poor sanitation undermines public health, it also undermines economic productivity, the health of the environment, and urban competitiveness. But sanitation investments also need to generate significant economic returns that then attract private sector players. And that is a very important component that we also must look when we talk about innovative financing. Thank you.
So yesterday we went...
I hope it was audible.
Yes, you were. Thank you. So yesterday we went from seeing sanitation as infrastructure to a service, and in terms of Hezekiah's sentiment, to have accountability. And what has come out strongly is that money is available, but how you package and how you attract the funding is very important. And on that note, just to note that project preparation is very key. That has been identified for years in terms of bridging the gap between projects that are unfunded and unlocking funding. And at the WPO Non-Sewage Sanitation Program, we have funding for project enablement to prepare and package to solicit financing. But I would like to know from Ms. Aveni, there is a lot of focus on project preparation now. And in order to unlock the critical funding, what technical, financial, legal, institutional preparation is required for sanitation projects to unlock said funding?
Yeah, thanks. Good morning, political leadership and colleagues. Apologies, we couldn't join yesterday. We were at the R&B session that was talking about the same topic, just showing the importance of it. Yeah, I would like to position project prep in a different light, because normally the conventional definition is that it's an upstream planning issue. But if you have been engaged in projects from start to finish, you'll actually realize that that definition is very limited, because project prep starts with planning upstream, but you still find it even when you are implementing the project. So the first point is to change our lens around how we see project prep. I also want to dispel the issue that it's a function that precedes all the other functions. It's part of the infrastructure value chain, and I'll demonstrate what I mean in a while. So I'm going to use about 4 disciplines to talk about it. The first one is about the technical bankability of projects. So if you look at the technical module, it's about the engineering side of things, where you have credible options for implementing the project, justifying why those options are actually the best options to take forward. But you can't talk about that without linking it to your demand kind of modules, the procurement modules, but most importantly, the implementation framework of that particular project that you are looking at, as well as the technical risks and how you are going to, mitigate them. Then you move to the financial module. We often talk about the positive financial net present value of project as a criteria to look at projects. So that works when you're mostly looking at commercial projects, because you want the return. The RR must also be positive. But then what about when you are looking at social projects? I think we'll talk about that, because a project can have a financial model that is bankable, because that's the financial bankability that lenders will look at. But we have different types of funders. The public funders maybe would look at, even if it's a negative NPV, they'll still be interested in the social returns of a project. So I think we need to look at it broadly. But the financial bankability and viability, it's about the attractiveness of the project to potential, funders. We also have what we call the economic viability aspect. Same as the financial, but here in the economic side. So meaning that you need to see a positive economic NPV for the project to be able to proceed. And what it means is it confers positive economic benefits to all segments of society. In other words, if a project has a negative economic NPV, whether social or commercial, you shouldn't be doing it. You can't justify a project with a negative, economic NPV. And lastly, it's also about legal bankability of projects. This is now compliance with the legislative and statutory requirements. So your EIAs coming into play, water use licenses, and so forth. So the key document that you'll produce from an upstream project prep kind of facility would be your bankable feasibility study capturing all these aspects that I spoke about. But most importantly, and it depends on how you do it, as your technical advisor, legal advisor must be independent of you as an institution. They must review the study independently so that they can poke holes into the feasibility study and tell you what are the gaps that exist, that which when lenders come in, they would want them to be resolved. Or, because in my view, if you do it that way, it will fast track financial close. If you wait for the lenders to come and appoint their own advisors, it also works. It depends on whether you have the money or not, but it will take time to get to financial close. So that is our experience in relation to project prep. And Ramona, when I said you still find it in construction, as you are moving into construction, your technical advisor will tell you that we are seeing these gaps. Go and plug them in. So up until you operate the asset, you are dealing with project prep issues. That's why I said upstream and downstream. That is our experience and definition of project prep. Thanks.
Thank you very much. You touched on a very vital point, is that project preparation does not start and end at the beginning, before financing. And to that point, it also relates to de-risking of WESS on the ground, is that we can pilot and demonstrate and de-risk until we blue in the face, but it's people without dignified sanitation that suffer the most. And there is going to be lessons that we learn on the go, because there is no perfect solution, or we need to reiterate and improve the processes. So we are urging municipalities as well as COJ to get going, and let's learn on the go in a responsible manner. So I just want to give Alessandro an opportunity, because we are working together, to highlight the instruments and mechanisms that are available for funding WESS. But before we get to that, is to also highlight that we are currently working on a toolkit of data and information that municipalities can use to easily prepare and package these projects for WESS, and one of which is a cost-benefit analysis, because we see the need to prove an economic rate of return or a social rate of return that will appeal to investors. So it's just something to note in terms of the enabling that we are working on. Over to you, Alessandro.
Thank you very much. So I think it's fortuitous what my fellow panelists mentioned around the leveraging of grants. And I think in the sort of West, particularly they don't want me to talk anymore. So I think it's an interesting, because a lot of people will look at a project and say there is no underlying cash flow and therefore you can't fund it commercially. And I think that's what was being mentioned here, is that there's also the social aspect to funding projects, and sometimes we have to acknowledge that you don't have those underlying cash flows because it's in a community, it's for social good, and therefore the social benefit that's all it's about. And it doesn't mean those can't be funded. And that's where outcome-based funding is actually very relevant in the market right now. It's becoming mainstream across the markets. And again, what we try to demonstrate, and what Ramona's sort of mentioning, is when we took the Cape performance-based bond, which is an outcome-based structure, and it's clearing of invasive species in strategic catchment areas in Cape Town, what that leads to is additional water flow. So it's about 55 billion litres of water per year that will be put back into the Cape Town water system. Those projects don't generate any revenue. It's just cutting down pine and eucalyptus trees. So you have a real example of something which is not going to generate a revenue. Now, the argument is, should the downstream users not pay for this, okay? But they don't pay for it, because it's hard to quantify who should pay for it, because it hits a river stream, essentially. And that's where an outcome-based structure works well. And that would take something like a grant, and it would say, we're going to actually use your grant as almost an underwrite or a guarantee, but then get commercial funders to fund the actual project during the life of the project. If the project is successful, then that outcome-based funding or grant funding is used to compensate the investors for taking the risk of funding the project through the life. Now, what that also does is it creates transparency. So we had the example now that you go and where's the M&E? In a process like that, what you've done is you said to someone, well, Mr. Financier, you've now put your commercial, you've got pension money, you've got third-party money. They're going to want to know what is happening. They want monthly reports. They want weekly reports. They want everything. And so what really then happens is you create this high level of transparency and accountability in those projects. But then you also shift in the risk from normally, in this case, an outcome-based funder or, City of Johannesburg or government who's funding these things on a grant basis, and you're saying to them, use your grant to bring in the private sector, let them fund it and take on the risk, compensate them for doing so, so give them a return because they're not going to do it for free. But what you also bring into that is a high level of transparency, and that's what we're looking at with Ramona and the WPO in the non-sewer sanitation space, is how do you use mechanisms like that to build out fundable operating models where there is no underlying revenue but a high social impact. And you can still fund it. You can still crowd in the private sector. And what that also does, last point, is often these type of models work exceptionally well where you have a high capex spend up front and you need to fund the capex, and in the operating cost is actually then something which the municipality or the government needs to absorb, but it's a lot lower cost than that they need to absorb because you funded the upfront capex through the private sector coming in a way in this manner. So you can do it. We've proven now that it is possible. And again, I will say very much, when we started the journey on the Cape Water Bond, we had EPPF investing, we had Alawani, we had Ashburton, we had your big asset managers and pension funds investing into this. When we started the journey, they said to us, there's not a chance we can buy into this. 18 months later, we're oversubscribed. We have the IFC as an anchor investor, we have Allan Gray, we have Sanlam. So it is possible to do it, and it's possible to move this from a nature-based solution into non-cert sanitation, which is what we are currently doing.
Thank you. I think it's about what you save, not necessarily what you are getting in the form of revenues that one could put towards these projects, be it in terms of water conservation, not deploying chemical toilets, and the likes. And pardon, I do harp on chemical toilets because people are very critical of WESS. However, I wish such criticism was applied for applying chemical toilets. So there's also another avenue, is that many are mentioning there is money available, there's pockets of it, and one of the instruments or avenues that we are also looking at is creating a sanitation fund, which seeks to aggregate monies that are in the sector, in the market, be it the likes of CSIs that want to do goodwill projects and to create a platform for meaningful application, and also to have the funding quantum to satisfy such project needs. Given what Alessandro has highlighted in terms of particularly a bond, Alvandre, can you touch on what DBSA support would be for the public and private sector in this context?
So look, maybe just for some context from my side. So our role really is to bridge the gap between the capital that is available and these projects. So the DBSA comes in and we provide a number of services. We help prepare and structure, like I've mentioned, these investments so that we can bring in the sort of private and public participation. So a simple sort of financing principle that I've learned many years ago is that capital follows these credible projects. You know, so we strive to offer technical assistance, project preparation, credit enhancements as well, sort of acting as a lead arranger as well, coming up with these appropriate financing structures to really implement these projects and give them the support that they need. So what this ends up doing is it really does increase investor confidence. You know, investors aren't going to put money in, whether it's private sector or sometimes public sector as well, if they don't really have the confidence that that a project has legs, that it can sort of continue and provide the benefits that we say it will. You know, the outcome. Yeah. Thank you.
And then also to catch you a bit off guard, Misaveni, thank you, Alvandre. The quantum of WESS projects does not necessarily merit or attract funding very easily, unless one does seek to aggregate or take a programmatic approach, be it on a provincial or department level. How can the BFI and the work IFISA is doing unlock potential funding?
Yeah, thanks. Maybe before I answer that question, I feel like I was devoid of the practical details in how to access the PrEP facilities going forward, because I would think colleagues are really interested in how will they access the PrEP facilities. So IFISA was established by National Treasury with a cradle-to-grave mandate, starting with project preparation. So currently, if you approach us, we will not be able to help you with project prep. What we will do, we'll accept the project into the IFISA project prep pipeline, because we started to operate with this mandate from the 1st of April. But there are project prep facilities that have been scattered across government, which are being consolidated into IFISA. And this would consolidate an IFISA project prep fund, and we're looking at around October to have that funding consolidated, and it will range between 500 million to $1 billion. So with that, I think colleagues can start to approach us as early as now, so that we start to look at those projects. When the fund start to be operational, then we can already move into the projects, benefiting. I thought Ramona should really make it practical so that we are able to, move forward. Yeah, on the question that you are asking, I think it can be answered in two ways, because there's the capital side of it, and there's the operational side of it. And on the capital side, I need to indicate that as IFISA and government, we are providing really, if you like, risk-free capital, which is very concessional, because we source our funding from the National Treasury through the budget facility for infrastructure. And with those funds, we are able to package different innovative and bespoke financial instruments. This can range from grants, concessional loans. We also do bridge kind of facilities, but where required, we also hold in the long term as senior lenders into the same kind of transactions. So it really depends on, remember what the question that we answered, the bankability of the project, the financial model, what does it say? Then it informs the kind of structures which we can put forward from a CAPEX side. What we would like to see is also a bit of own contributions from the municipalities themselves, so that there is skin in the game, in that confluence of blended finance, kind of instruments. But also increasingly, we are now seeing, you would note that those who are aware of IFISA, the PPP unit that used to be in the Treasury is now with IFISA. And now there's a decision to also bring in the WPO into IFISA. So you are going to have a one-stop shop where you are accessing everything in that platform. And we really take it that forward. So with the PPPs, what we are looking at, because of the limited funding that is available, you can have structures where the market fund projects with private capital, and you have government repaying the unitary payments over time, because you have a limitation within a fiscal framework, but over time you can have that kind of funding. But on the operational side of things, I think it's important to note that each and every project must subscribe to the user pays principle. So for segments where there are users, the users must pay for the services. The fiscals can only really subsidize elements where there's no viability of it. And lastly, we enhance our model and structures by ring-fencing projects and the risks. We're no longer doing corporate kind of financing on infrastructure projects. We want to finance each and every project based on its merits, based on its revenue streams, based on its expenditure. Then you are able to really deal properly with the risk. And Ramona, somebody spoke about green or climate financing. I think it's an area that we are currently exploring. In some of the sanitation programs and the environmental programs that we have funded as IFISA, we actually engage the international funders and the climate kind of funders within the DBSA to say, how best do you see this project with the innovation? Here are the climate change objectives. Can you come in to provide capital that can complement what we are having? And we now have live examples in that regard. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. we don't have much time according to the MCs, and I would have liked for Hezekiah and Johannes to speak a bit more. Hopefully we have the support of human settlements in terms of rolling out WESS. And one also has to include O&M in terms of the budgeting, which I'm hoping can be part of your grant funding, while the private sector and leveraging other funding could go for the CapEx. In 1 minute, gentlemen, what single action should South Africa prioritize over the next 3 years to improve financing, to reduce investment risk, and to accelerate WESS? Let's start with Johannes.
I'd actually thought you would start the other way. Yeah, but okay, no, thank you very much. I'm not so sure if I can put it in one word as we were discussing. I'm thinking of so many things. The issue of policies and how is it that we can work together when coming to policy formulation, not only within human settlements, but also with other departments. As I'm listening to Ms. Avini about the ring-fencing of funds, this got to do with National Treasury. It's got to do also with other sectors. Do we discuss it at policy level, or do we discuss it at implementation? What about grant frameworks and so on? But I think at the end of the day, when we've got public funding and we also have private sector funding, something definitely will work out. The only question and the only thing is our will and our determination in making that happen. That to me will come out very clear, because as we're discussing and I'm listening, much as BFI, if we're referring, for example, City of Johannesburg MMC, we may be encountering challenges there, but it has actually indicated what is it that we can deliver more than as compared to your traditional way of doing things in terms of grant funding. So yes, the issue of user payment, that definitely for sustainability of funding, it is critical. So that is going to. So going forward, I think a more coherent, unified strategy of working on infrastructure funding, including water and sanitation, of course, is going to be the key and the way to go to ensure that at least we do have success of what we're implementing, no longer just pumping money and then getting nothing in return. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was well said. I think, there's a willingness to work together is kind of, for me, going to be the unlock, and that's a willingness from private sector and public sector, and that also often, private sector is very critical of public sector, but private sector also needs to sometimes realize you can't get the returns that you want, and actually there's a balance of your funds that should also be moving towards doing things that are for society. And I think there is that willingness that everyone should pull in the same direction.
Yeah, thanks. I think we need to do things differently. And from our end, we're no longer doing things the way we used to do them before. Example, and I'm going to fight with SALGA for this. In the municipal space, what we are doing now, and it's actually across the board, it's not just municipalities, with the IFISA framework, we're no longer giving money for capital projects upfront to municipalities or other organs of state. We are now giving it based on the achievement of the milestones of the project. And it has got many benefits. I think offline we can have a separate session where we explain how it works. But we need a change in paradigm to correct the things that we've been doing wrong from scratch, because we have tested concept around the conventional way of allocating. We have paid expensive school fees there. Now we are doing things differently. Thanks.
Thank you for the opportunity. So if I had to choose one priority, it would definitely be building a pipeline of bankable WESS projects through stronger project preparation and building that sort of institutional capacity. There is capital available. We've heard from government, from DFIs, from the private sector as well. The problem is really converting those infrastructure needs into bankable projects. So if we improve the quality of project preparation and implementation, we can unlock significantly more capital for these WESS projects. Thank you.
And then finally, Hezekiah.
Well, thank you very much, Ramona. Given the distance between Johannesburg and Nairobi, I would put emphasis on two priorities. The first one is that many successful cities have stopped looking at sanitation purely as infrastructure challenge. And when people think about investments and financing, the mind goes straight to infrastructure, building more toilets, more sewers, more treatment plants. But I think very many successful cities are asking a totally different question, and that is, how do we ensure that every resident receives a safe sanitation service, regardless of the technology that is used? And I think sanitation financing needs to be expanded beyond just infrastructure to really look at service delivery for those who have been left behind. The second priority really is about local governments, because these things happen at the local government level. And investors are not looking at financing pipes or treatment plants or dislodging trucks. They are financing institutions, that can plan, institutions that can procure properly, institutions that can work under regulation and manage services effectively. So I think we're talking about the need to strengthen the financial and institutional credibility of local governments. And this is something that UN Habitat is very much interested in. So for South Africa, I think the important question to be asked is really not about whether there are alternative sanitation infrastructure systems to finance. I think the real question is, are we prepared to then scale up sanitation models that are sustainable, that are financially viable with the current urgency that we are investing in conventional infrastructure. So looking beyond conventional infrastructure to look at a service-based approach that is climate resilient but also financially viable. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, esteemed panelists. I think you heard it. Money is available, technology is available. It's how we package it, but there is a mechanism for packaging. Come to us, WPO, IFISA. It is there. We just need willing participants. We've heard from Cape Town. They have demonstrations. They are moving to scale. eThekwini is also another candidate. Zach has mentioned also the pilots that are being run. We are looking to COJ as the big brother with the deep pockets in South Africa to lead the way. And we are here to support, to move. And thank you again to everybody that's here and that listened so attentively. Let's move WESS forward in a positive manner. Thank you, everyone.
Going to spoil the party. Two things. That chelete, that mali, that is to make sure that there's delivery of services, both efficiently and effectively. It's all that I can say. My time is the only one that is working, my phone, my watch. 11:30, we are starting. 11:30, we just grabbed a cup of tea, and then we come back. And then we get the technology guys, the innovators, to come and share with us. On that note, please let's break for tea. Community reps, please can you come this side? And latelang me lungile, latelang me lungile. Community reps, please. The one way, Mr. Nlutroho. manufacture with more than 40 years of engineering and manufacturing experience, specializing in innovative water efficient sanitation and sustainable infrastructure solutions. Can I request to the presenters that I'm not a very bad person. So if you do it 3 minutes, 50 seconds, I will appreciate it. If you stretch it to 4 minutes, it's also fine. If it goes beyond that, I will stand next to you. Can I therefore request the first team, Amadou, if they are ready, to assist us? Yes, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As all the dignitaries and program directors, thank you for being so close to me. Helps a lot. I would like to present myself. My name is Lucas, and my surname is Mugope. For those that knew Lucas Mugope for many years ago, this is how I adopted his name. In any event, I would like to express my sincere glad and happiness about being here with all of you. You know, we don't always get the opportunity to join hands in symposiums and celebrations like this. And when we do, we always think, what are we going to say? A lady asked me this morning, who is your biggest client? I said, South Africa. And she was quite astounded by it. And I said, yeah, because we as innovators are here to develop and manufacture goods for the people of South Africa. And then in between us and the market, which is the people of South Africa, there is role players, and many of you are. And that's always for us an opportunity to meet you and to see where we can cut in order to better our position as manufacturers and service providers as such, and also satisfy the needs of the people. Now, my company is 40 years old, and we've done a lot in the years. I know Jay quite a long time. He's been there once, I think. He's a very busy man. But nevertheless, I'm based in Pretoria, and one thing I would like to mention to you is that we as a company have developed technologies based on the front end of the sanitation chain and the back end. And in between, I think many of us have the same sort of vision of building things that is beautiful, strong, and affordable for the people. But on the front end, I would like to make this point that every individual or any company that is in the development of technologies, this is where we want to tap in. We want to expose ourselves and make ourselves available to any company and any organization that is in need of a front end. And if we fit that front end, then you're welcome to contact us and we can share the technology. We're not here to keep everything for ourselves. We're here to share. And this is what I think will make the future of South African sanitation from a manufacturing and a technology point of view much, much more stronger. And then on the back end, this is where we have developed the reuse of all the excreta in the sanitation chain. And we have successfully completed this research that we've done. And today we have a beautiful O&M project that is 9 years on the run in the vicinity of Vulindlela in the Limpopo province. And we have had a lot of people coming to visit there from time to time. It's a bit far out. I think we will bring some of our technologies closer to town in future. But in any event, there we've experienced how incredibly it is needed to implement something that you have to be close to your customers. And the people of Vulindlela, especially the ladies and the children, are in the seventh heaven about the results of the back end of O&M, and this is where we grow the vegetable gardens. And we use the material also from a point of view of cleanliness and safe. We also make biochar. And I think it was quite a breakthrough for us to use it. We incinerate the feces and we then embed it into certain products, and then we press it and we biochar. And they use that biochar there, making fire, and it's clean and it's all safe to do so. The same with the vegetables. The growth of the vegetables is about 10 days faster than any other garden. They use chemical fertilizers. And the urine is so rich in potassium and nitrogen and phosphates and minerals that it is really one of the most strongest fertilizers you can get. And through a drip irrigation system, we provide that to the community, either on a single household and in a community-based situation as well. And also I would like to say that for me it is important to mention that at places like, or facilities like today, we normally don't get the opportunity to express our needs and wants. And I must tell you people that the most important thing that I think we need in the country, in the sanitation industry, is to, and I've heard it over the day or two, that it is so important that we come together and lay down the norms and the standards for a flourishing sanitation industry. There is a lot that can be done, not complicated. I like simplicity, but I like practicalities. And in that way, I think the brain power that is available in our country today, if we can come together and just put down the necessities for industry to flourish and get rid of the stuff that is not needed anymore. It's sad to say that some of the tenders in South Africa today is still dating back to about 20 years, and that is not acceptable anymore. We've got new ideas, we've got new technologies, we've got new solutions. Let that be tested and tried. From my side, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciated the opportunity being with you. And today, I unfortunately have to leave after my speech now. So I thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. We are now going to move to Enviro Blue. Is a leading provider of sustainable waterless sanitation solutions. That is over to you. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Director or by introduction, my name is Kabiso Mantile, and I'm from Enviro Options, known as Enviro U, and we are in the sanitation business for over 30 years now. So we do both waterless and flushing toilets as well, which is our recirculating system that I'm going to take you through. So part of these two systems that we do, we look into coming to communities and also places where bulk infrastructure and lack of water is an issue. We come and we put these units down to make sure that we alleviate the government and municipalities from all these sanitation challenges that we're focusing on. About in 2011, through the Reinvent Challenge, through the Gates Foundation and our strong relationship with the WRC, we were asked to come up with a solution that would challenge South African needs, sanitation needs, and African needs, and then we came up with the Vulindlela. So what this system looks to do, it looks to tackle sanitation challenges like I alluded to, and how it works is an on-site sanitation that breaks down all your solids,
all your tissue papers and all your foreign objects. And then as we left into our primary tank is our secondary sedimentation, where all those small pieces that would have escaped in the conservancy tank will then flow into your primary tank, and then we then overflow into our non-stick tank. In our non-stick tank, that's where we do our denitrification, so we introduce glucose, and then the nitrates then escape as gas, and then we overflow into our aerobic tank. In our aerobic tank, we then introduce your PAC, which is your polyaluminium chloride for fast forward removal. We'll then move into your membrane tank, that's where we separate. So your groundwater and your sludge, through our sludge return pipe and our nitrate return pipe, will go back into our primary tank and our non-stick tank. And then the clear water will filter into our clear water tank. And then once we're there, we also need the water. So we further disinfect, and then once we've had enough contact time with the water, we pump the water back up for flushing again. So it's a closed loop system, it saves the water, it's environmentally friendly, and it's a way to go. So far we've done about 44 installations in South Africa, and I'm going to take you to one that we've done that we've worked with the city of Cape Town. But like I said, we've done about 44 installations, predominantly in the KZN space and in the Eastern Cape space. We've done 2 pilots in the Western Cape through the city of Cape Town, and this is actually one of the pilots that we did. So there's a camp in Cape Town, something called Masinyana Camp, where we put down this particular system. So the camp had no sanitation infrastructure. They were using chemical toilets, which posed a health structure, and also the huge exposure to diseases, and also dignified sanitation issues, of which was alluded to yesterday, that we need to make sure that we provide dignified sanitation solutions to the people in the community. So we came up with a solution and we put it down. So it now serves about plus minus 400 people. And the challenge is, like I said, they use chemical toilets, and now they've moved away from chemical toilets. They have a flushing system that is dignified, is environmentally friendly, and is also cost saving when it comes to that. So what's nice about it as well is that we work through the WRC, and it also created jobs. So the people within that community, they were given the opportunity to do the construction of the system. And what's nice is that we also appointed a local GPA who now takes care of what's happening within the plant. And also we have 2 janitors that take care of the 2 communal blocks in terms of cleaning the toilets. And then as we move into our dry water sanitation, this one has been in the game for over 30 years now, and we've done about 150 installations worldwide. I'm talking in Africa and also across. And I'm just going to take you quickly through an appointment that we're currently doing in Mohale City, where we're taking away about 2.4 chemical toilets, and we're putting these environmental dryers in individual households. So when we did this whole scale up, we looked at the municipality, which is Mohale City, and then we were appointed with informal settlements that we were supposed to take away the chemical toilets and put the environmental use. So as you can see, that's what we were looking at, and now this is what we're looking at in terms of the solution that's put out. Same situation as the one that you saw in Cape Town. They had no sanitation infrastructure, so no bulk infrastructure, and minimum access of water. And then the chemical toilets posed health risks through chemicals and all of that. And then in terms of budget as well, this is a budget-friendly system, because once you put it down, the capex covers the minimum of 2-year assembly plan. However, going forward, it becomes cheaper. So your overall long-term investment becomes so good with these systems, because the maintenance is so cheap and it's easy to use and user-friendly as well. So what's nice about it is that locals were trained, and they are the ones that are currently doing the installations. And then the handover as well is done by the locals, and so far we've handed over about 300 units on the ground. Thank you. Thank you. We're ready to be to time. The presenters are
I'm checking my watch. It's exactly 3 minutes, 56 seconds. All of it. All of it. Let's go to Planact Water and Sanitation. It's a provider of innovative water and sanitation solutions, backed by more than 50 years of combined.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present our technologies and solutions. So, Planact Water and Sanitation, we're a team of engineers, electrical, mechanical, and civils, who came together to try and bridge the gap in the sanitation industry. We aim to protect water resources, especially underground water, surface water, so it doesn't get contaminated. We are 100% black and rainwater into reusable flushing, reusable water we can use for flushing or irrigation. We can treat water from septic tanks, urinals, showers. It's got a very small footprint. One aquatic that treats 2,000 liters. The diameter is about 1.9 meters with a height of about 1.5. Cost efficient, scalable, so if you need to increase the capacity of the treatment, you just put the tanks in parallel. Got very low maintenance, there's got very few moving parts, and the one that we really look at every month is the disinfection, which is the chlorine tablets. Apart from that, there isn't really much when it comes to maintenance. You do your maintenance every 6 months or annually. And you can install it above ground or below ground, and it also saves water because you recirculate. You can connect it to pretty much any existing front end, be it ABT or brick and mortar. And the energy consumption on our system is very low. One treatment plant with a chronic uses about 6 kilowatt hours a day. You put the second one, you get about 10. You put the third one, you're running at about 15 or so. That's experience from the various sites. And the treatment plant, we have out of 8 PPE, so you can have a lifespan of about 20 years or so. A typical installation would be pump the water every hour into the conic. The conic has got compartments on the inside, and each compartment represents pretty much all the processes, normal processes that treated up a DWT that can treat anything from 20 kiloliters to 25 kiloliters a day, and that is mainly for RDP houses, reblocked informal settlements, where you can actually do a sewer network, and in future the municipality aims to put bulk infrastructure there. When the bulk infrastructure arrives, can actually decommission the system, lead to another site, and then connect the bulk to this plant. And then on the right hand side, the best day, you treat anything from 30 kiloliters a day to 250. And then also got the best underground, which is more suited for high-end residential estate because they're buried underground in any use of electricity. And then also the fast tower, same story, can install it on an individual household. These two came about because we realized that in certain municipalities are not keen on the recirculation and having to deal with the maintenance. This is something that was also mentioned yesterday. So with this one, you can install it at a household level, it has a treatment, and then the treated water goes into the sewer away. Then in future, when the contract ends, the municipality does not have to do any maintenance. So this is some of the case studies. On the left-hand side, there's a project that we did with our colleague in Verulam. In the middle, from Cape Town, so there's this area they use something called cabs, which have showers. And in both Equatorial and in Vulindlela, we actually also have a great water treatment plant. Inside is Planact Clip, where we've got 2 colleagues operating there, with a greenfield project. The middle one is Cape Gate. It also is a perfectly completed the reblocking, and then we put in our treatment plant. And on this one, we actually put the septic tank above ground because of the high water table, and the system has been running very well for the past 3 months. And on the right hand side, it is Vulindlela Primary School. So that plant is in the middle of nowhere to the mountain. We go there once a quarter, or once every 6 months. We don't have a plant assistant on site. The one person who's making us or helping us maintain the quality, making sure that the system doesn't block, is a janitor. So they play a very important role to keep it going. We only let go quarterly just to go check what's happening. Systems do a circular economy. We're reducing septic tank emptying, reducing water bills by treating and reusing the water. And our treatment plants, all of them are running off solar PV, and we haven't had any downtime from running our systems. Thank you.
Wow, so far so good. So far so good. All right. Let's also get another environment sanitation solutions. Is a specialist of innovation in this space. Thank you.
We do have a presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's no longer morning, which means that we are that much closer to the weekend. Just waiting for the presentation to come up there. I'm sure, much like me, you don't like to work too hard on a Friday, so you don't want to listen to me for 3.5 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to play a video up there. By way of introduction, my name is Brian Lewis from Environment and Sanitation.
We wanted to bring the dignity and feeling of flushing the toilet to a household, not just for flushing, but it had a lot of significance for women and children.
We have come together to provide access to sanitation services for the Vulindlela community.
This is a beautiful thing for the residents.
We wanted to bring the dignity and feeling of flushing the toilet to a household, not just for flushing, but it had a lot of significance for women and children.
We have come together to provide access to sanitation services to the Vulindlela community.
This is a beautiful thing for the resident. Oh, what a dignity! What a dignity!
PepsiCo Foundation. They are actually the funder of this program.
This initiative forms part of PepsiCo's Net Water Positive strategy, which aims to provide safe water access to over 100 million people by the year 2030.
This is very beautiful. Yeah, indeed, this is bringing hope to the people of Vulindlela.
On behalf of the mayor, I would like to appreciate this initiative for really bringing dignity to our people.
The innovation has the look and feel of a conventional toilet and uses very, very minimal water, only 2 liters.
And that, for a very water-scarce country, is the direction we should be going.
And it doesn't need to be clean, drinkable water. It can be rainwater. It can be water that is reused after taking a bath, washing one's clothes.
The household takes responsibility and is able to manage the solution.
So no water is wasted through this entire system. From rainwater to hand wash water, everything gets used inside and it gets used to flush the toilet once again.
In partnership with the Water Research Commission as the implementing agent, around 120 households were provided with a low pour flush toilet system as well as a hand washing station.
Most of the people that you see in this tent, they are actually our beneficiaries from the village.
These toilets are actually manufactured and installed in the community of Vulindlela.
The stars of today's event is the community.
All of you, the community members.
They've done all the hard work of inspiration. They've built these systems themselves.
And most importantly and more sustainably is they're also learning a skill. They're learning how to work with concrete. The toilets must be by the community for the community because that way we get buy-in.
We are very much happy to get this toilet because we were used to the mountain to go to the toilet. Our lives have improved, especially for young children.
It's about the rights of women. It's about the rights of children.
You'll see the toilet comes with a child seat lid. Everything we design, everything we manufacture is done with the safety and welfare of children. It doesn't get much drier than up here in Vulindlela, and we've got flushing toilets here.
It's a sanitation revolution, and hopefully, this is the start of that disruption.
the last presentation, it's actually a pitch. Muscam water, are we here? Yes. We also playing video?
No, it's a slideshow.
It's a slideshow.
Okay, where do I advance? Everyone just advance on the keys. Beautiful. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. I just want to get back to the first slide there. While we're talking about research and development, etc., piloting, I thought let's focus a little bit on what's already available in the commercial field. Now, the fusion system has been in South Africa since 2010. We did the first exports into Africa in 2011, which was by chance. I didn't plan to do that, but we got inquiries and we did send them out. From 2016, we started doing partial assembly in South Africa. In 2018, we started manufacturing some of the components, and in 2023, we actually bought the business from Zoller in the USA. So now it is 100% South African-owned business. Just a little bit of statistics before we get into the more interesting stuff. To date, we've got 436 out in the field, 12 in production, and quite a number of other orders following. We've already sent the technology out to the UAE, Mauritius, 8 other countries on the African continent, Mexico, Bahamas, Cayman Islands. So you can see there's quite a bit of international take-up of this. Madagascar is to follow soon. So you will see, when you look at the fusion, you will see 2 brand names. The one is the Claris Fusion, and the other one is the Muscom Fusion, and the only difference is with us acquiring the business in 2023. It's the same technology. Our factory is situated in Van Reinsdorp in the Western Cape. So as I said, it's available since 2010 in South Africa, now 100% locally owned, locally manufactured in the Western Cape. And it is installed and maintained by local contractors. So we don't do the turnkey service. We manufacture the product, we will assist with design, and then we train local people to do the installation and to do the ongoing maintenance on the systems. Just a quick showcase of case studies in the CBD of Cape Town at the Department of Environmental Affairs. I see there's some stuff missing. This thing didn't copy properly. What I wanted to show you is right next to the boardroom of Environmental Affairs within the city CBD. We actually treat their wastewater and we then flush their toilets. All of these photos are missing, the big ones. If we look at commercial centers, there's Kempton Park, there's Barloworld in Maputo, where we treat the wastewater and use it on site for irrigation purposes. There's domestic single houses, schools. I've got Kiro School here. There's a few other schools as well, where the sports fields are being irrigated with treated effluent, so they don't use drinking water for that. And when the school outgrew the capacity of the system, then we just added another one. So you don't have to rebuild, you don't have to reinvent. You can add modular as the development grows. There's one in KZN as well. What you see there, the green is agricultural. Everything that's not green will be developed. And we can play this out as the development grows. What you see on the slideshow there is phase 1, which is a shopping center, and the other phases is to follow from next year on. In Katima Molilo, they're building there pretty much what we will see is gap housing here. In the middle of town, they don't have capacity. So we did this in a phased approach. Those phases are done. The others are to come. And what you see there will cover 120 households, where the water will be treated and will be put back for reuse within the community. In Paarl, we've done the Paarl Junction, which is a 50,000 square meter mixed use center. And all of the wastewater is treated on site, again going back to irrigation. So the main purpose is often toilet flushing, irrigation, or other non-drinking purposes. The fusion was given the Solar Impulse Foundation 1,000 efficient solutions in January 2021. To get that label, you already have to be at commercial scale and you have to showcase what you've already achieved with it. Then the Solar Impulse invited us to COP27 as part of their high impact solutions that they want to present there. A few other things that other people that acknowledged us. And then lastly, looking at the business model, I touched on it just now, we don't want all the profits. We want to share that. So we will build the tech, we will assist with designs at no cost, and we train local contractors to do the installation and to do the ongoing maintenance of the system. Training is free of charge, but also this is where we speak to enterprise development, this is where we speak to skills development so that everybody can benefit. And then there's a secondary economy. It's not only the installation and the maintenance, but there's a secondary economy when you reuse the water. You can create another economy by planting something you can sell or planting something that you can even consume. So with that in mind, let's reuse, recycle, and reduce.
Closer to me. Come closer. Can we have another round of applause? I mean, what an exceptional amount of work. I mean, and we always love innovators. They're brave. They cut the path. And now we need to make their work fit into exactly the challenges and demands that we face in providing dignified, affordable, reusable, water-efficient sanitation. At this point, we are making a transition from the private sector to the non-profit sector, and we've asked Mr. Burger, now Burger or Burger? Burger. Burger. I see you smiling. Do you like being called a burger? I don't know. In our country, a burger is like a resident, as you know. So, but before you come through, Burger Lundgren is the founder and CEO of Sanitation Ambassadors non-profit company and a co-founder and funding partner of the Blue Dignity Circularity Program in South Africa. We're going to be very strict on time. He's coming in online, and we're giving you 10 minutes, sir. You're in the very vulnerable position of being online, so if you go over time, we can just unplug you. But yeah, we look forward to hearing from you, and you're very, very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm a Swede. I've been in South Africa for 23 years, but I'm in Sweden on work and a combination holiday. And I will talk a little about, like on the t-shirt, I put it on special for you today. So we are going to talk about shit, because they shit. And what's happening afterwards. Toilets, I had a call 3 weeks ago from the World Bank in Ghana. They have installed like flushing toilet and septic tanks, about 35,000. And suddenly they had the problem with where are they going to dispose it? They have nowhere to dispose it. So it's quite often, about moving the stuff. When software, and when the draft was in, to find out, when we were visiting a couple of, started to research the sanitation problem, and what I found out, like in many countries and in South Africa, is that wastewater goes quite often directly untreated into the ocean or rivers, or semi-treated into into the water and rivers and effects. So on the slides here, if you live, for instance, in Camps Bay, one of the most expensive places in Cape Town, and you have like a beautiful house with a beautiful view over the ocean. Most of those houses goes the sanitation and our shit directly into the beach. And fish don't like it, but the soil loves the carbon that's in the output. You can next slide, please. Next slide, please. We're talking about financials, we're talking about money, and I come across Water Research Commission a report, I think it's about one and a half year ago, and they've calculated on 40 toilets in the school environment. And it was quite interesting because, you know, like, it's very seldom we talk about prices, we talk about needing money to build infrastructure. And when we looked into it, the way we see non-sewage sanitation and water efficient sanitation and compare the cost, because, you know, like, the financial problem is always there, and we want to have as much, for every single rand we invest in sanitation, we want the most of it. So I just want to, for you that haven't seen this research, I will just take out a couple of data so you get like an idea. Next slide, please. The interesting part here is to calculate 40 school toilets was the whole idea, and what it cost per seat during 5 years with everything. And if you look at chemical toilets here, it's quite significant amount of money. In 5 years with everything included is more than 30 million. And when you look into the capex to buy them in, it's quite cheap. But at the end of the day, is one of the most expensive solutions. And if you say that it's very few that likes a chemical toilet, and I think you have to be very special if you enjoy the movement in one of these plastic containers. Next slide, please. Many things that the VIP latrine just works by itself, and that what we see quite a lot when we have been around into schools. Toilets are dirty, they are smelly, even if it's like one way to change a pit latrine to like a good toilet is just to put the windmill on top. But we see quite a lot with no service, broken doors. But if you look at the pricing, according to WRC, it's like 40 toilets is like more than $9 million. Next slide, please. And connected to the grid. You know, like in one way, you think we put in the toilet and suddenly everything is for free. It's not. And then according to WRC, in this case, it's like it's quite a good amount of money. And we're talking 40 toilets for a school environment. But $12 million is quite a lot of money for 40 toilets. But when you add everything, then it's lots of money. And sanitation is not cheap. Next slide, please. We thought of this in a different way, and I'm from Sweden, and we have the toilet you see in the middle there is actually a dry toilet. And it uses a micro flush, so you get like a flushing experience. I think that's quite important in the South African context. But it uses 100 ml. So it's like a half glass of water for flushing the urine, but it separates the pee and the poo. So it's quite easy. Then it goes into a container. You see the couple carrying a box. That's only feces. And it's a ventilation system to make it dry. And it's easy to treat. And we have developed a method to treat the shit together with the University of Agriculture in Sweden. And also with help of the university at UK ZN and WASH R&D Center. Next slide, please. When we calculated 40 toilets based on the method we're using, you get like a proper toilet with a good user experience, including a quick build. You know, like when you are born in Sweden, it's a big furniture company that's all over the world that's named IKEA, and they're famous for doing high quality things that you can build yourself very, very quick. And what you see on this picture is a toilet unit, and we did that for in Eastern Cape. We did 4 of these. It was both 3 doors and 4 doors and four units, and was built on 2 people in 7 days. So it is a quick build if you want to finish off lots of toilets. Anyway, the system you see there, the dry system with a good user experience, the price tag here for the whole of the 40 toilets, including building, including service, is 2.6 or almost 2.7 million. So it's like a fraction of the cost, and it's a fast to implement. And you know, like the gold standard is a flushing toilet, but there actually is, you know, the smell, it still smells even if you have water. So we say that you can have the full experience, but you don't get the splash, the bum splash. That's the only thing we can't provide with this kind of technology. Next slide, please. So this is a couple of units we're built. The left one is the one we have in Eastern Cape. Next slide, please. You can take the next slide, please. Next slide. I just want to touch base 30 seconds. What I have left of this time is like on the left side you see honeysuckle, and if you use it for emptying households, a septic tank or conservative tank, you have like 2-3 households on the big truck on the left, and on the right side you can have an electric cart or a small vehicle, and that can handle like 10 or 15 households with this kind of technology. Next slide, please. So let's make shit happen, and thank you for being online with you guys, and I would love to speak to you and about this kind of solution and how they can help people and implement it quick and fast. So thank you very much, and greetings from sunny Sweden.
Thank you. Big warm round of applause. Thank you. And now we're transitioning, Mike.
Thank you. All right. Another civil society organization that will also share with us the activities. The SOS, non-profit organization, they're supporting circular economy, they're doing the best that they can under the circumstances, but quite a very interesting work that they're doing. Join me in welcoming Date Bele.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity. I'll just say all protocol observed. I had quite a lengthy presentation prepared, and fortunately, everyone that's been in attendance here yesterday and today has actually pleasantly disappointed me. Very pleasantly disappointed me. It was so refreshing to come to a symposium and hear people, very pleasantly though. It was really very refreshing to come to a symposium and hear each and every speaker. From yesterday, Councillor Moloi was speaking about sanitation as a service, no longer anyone looking at the toilet as just infrastructure. Very refreshing to hear the financial institutions talking about monies there. And for a lot of innovators, the product owners, it's hello. Awesome, yeah. Oh, sorry, I was still on my introduction. Sorry. Okay, let's see. Wait, there we go. Yeah. Okay, next slide. I'm on the next slide. Yeah, so for us, SOS NPO simply stands for Save Our Schools. And the relevance of what we do is that we look at the school as not an isolated institution. The school is actually part of the community. The children that go to the school belong to the community. The teachers, the staff, it's all part of the community. Our approach is really simple in terms of Blue Dignity, is that we look at the school as the hub. If we can start working in the school and solving some of the sanitation and water access issues in the school, our approach in circularity then extends into the community. Not just in that the children that come to the school will have access to dignified sanitation, not that the children that come to the school will have access to clean drinking water. Not just those elements, but bigger than that is that we actually, in all our implementations, we use the school as the central source for communities to start gaining access to services, to start gaining access to dignified sanitation. As an example, a recent school that we worked at in Lusigisigi, where they've only had a school of about 300 learners, boys and girls, and about 40 educators, has since 2003 had only 3 pit toilets. I didn't include those pictures here, but the first time we went on site, which was a year and a half ago, and you see these structures that face valleys with no roof, no doors, it's terrible. It's 2026. I literally got on site and I thought, where are we here? But that's the reality that more and more, we've got a huge list of schools that have the same challenge. This child that you see pouring water there, for his whole school life at the school, has been drinking rain-harvested water from a rusty roof. Because there are no other options, there's nobody that is thinking about not just the water access, not just the toilet access, but the service. So our approach was really simple here. And instead of going through all the speeches, I'm just going to tell you the simple approach that we looked, which has worked. The first was, which I'm so happy more people spoke about and touched on, is the community engagement. For anything that we are talking about that is being used in the community, used by the community, for the community, those are our primary custodians of systems and services. There is, we always say there's vandalism, and those exist. Theft exists, but when that happens, you need to know and you need to ensure that the community feels and knows that this is their infrastructure, this is their system, this is their services that's being harmed, and that community itself takes action without us intervening. So what we did at this school is a two-phased approach. One was looking at who are the partners that we have on board as SOS, as the Blue Dignity movement, in terms of service providers, your sanitation providers. We work with various entities like your Amalulus, your sanitation ambassadors, your Aramlus. So for us, it's not about promoting the technology. For us is looking at what is the most appropriate sanitation system that can be put in the school. And we look at what is the potential for circularity in the school. Circularity is really, we sometimes complicate it. Sometimes you need to just imagine yourself, you are in this room. Within this room, you need to look at what is it that I have access to. Are there people in this room that are plumbers? Are there people in this room that are drivers, that are builders? Are there people in this room that are unskilled but are able to work? Are there people with children in this room? That's where we start. We look at what is it that we've got in this community that we can utilize to ensure that everybody has a hand in the system. So you fast forward 3 months ago is when we were able to, one, drill a borehole, purify the water, pipe the water for the school to have clean drinking water. That's one. It's not just you digging a borehole, but you need to pipe it. You need to make sure it's clean. That's part one. Part two is providing community access so that the community don't just look at the school and say, oh, they've got it, we don't. That's the community access point. And how do we then help the community distribute the water? The easiest way is non-financial. We call it sweat equity, where members of the community come into the school. We help the school set up a food garden. And in a month's time, they've got cabbages that are being harvested. I mean, a lot of schools, you'll agree, have a lot of space, a lot of land. That's normally just bushes and spending money, cutting and whatnot. That's a food garden, that's a resource. And some of that is used back in the food kitchen. Some of that is used, sold and given to members of the community. You come to the school, you do some work, you collect water. That's your sweat equity. You come to the school, you look after the school, you make sure no scalums come in, you can take some cabbages. That's a simple, we make it really, really basic. Very quickly, you see those poles with the blue foundations. That's how we've actually moved water from the borehole to a storage tank for irrigation, to the storage tank also for drinking. We put a system called Water in the Sky, which makes it easy for members of the school and community to diagnose problems. If there's a water leak, you can see visually, that's the leak, you know how to plug it. Instead of having to first think, I have to dig, I have to get people to dig. That simplifies the whole process. And normally the poop, once you've got your containment sections full, most people think that's the end, but that effectively is the beginning. You start building jobs in the community for people to do the emptying, for people to process and treat the waste. Where you see here, we train people in partnership with Amalulu and our other partners, converting the waste, like Lucas was saying earlier, into biochar, into fertilizer. That goes back into the garden and feeds the people. Some more pictures of people being trained here. And again, just reiterating, it's about training. It's about keeping people, local economies. There is no outsider. Imagine the doors are locked. No one's coming from outside to save you. No one's coming from outside. And at the end of it all, everything that we are trying to do in this room, whatever your role is really about lifting families and communities out of the shadows. It's about ensuring that your daughter, when they go to school, they've got access to sanitary pads, they've got access to mechanisms, dignified, they can use the toilets. Some of the schools we go to, I can't use the toilet. Imagine a child. What do? There's no, imagine someone that they get to school and suddenly, periods don't phone and say today is on. They really don't, especially when you don't know what's happening. You get to school and what do? You know? So for us, it's really about how do we, the people that sit in the boardrooms, the people that speak to the funders, how do we then involve the communities? How do we create the local economies in those communities and make sure that people understand and they have a buy-in that this is for us. It's not charity. And I remember when I first started in non-profits and the whole thing was charities, and I was like, yeah. You know, once you give someone something and there's nothing that they're contributing, it's a problem. It's not sustainable. So our role as civil society is building the circular environments and systems and bringing the players on board, the funders, the WPOs, the DBSA, the manufacturers, the governments, into the same table to transform barriers into dignity. And really the evidence speaks for itself. I'm not going to go into all of that. We all know all the reports that have come out. We all know them. And for us really, as a parting shot, is really to start looking at not what is the cost of the toilet, what is the cost of implementing this system, but what is the cost of not doing that. The cost of not doing that means we are killing the local economies in those communities, we're killing the jobs in those communities. Everything can be localized. We've proven it. We've got programs in Potsdam. We've got projects in Gamoritsele, various other places. My last invite, Chair, very last one. Do yourself a favor, go to bluedignity.org. Have a look at some of the work that we're doing, find ways to get involved and engage. That is it, engaging and talking and sharing. And the nice thing with nonprofits is we very happily share information. There are tons of impact studies, tons of research that we do. Very happy to share, reach out. Please, guys. I thank you.
Indeed, the cost of not doing it. The cost of not doing it. Can I request that we spend exactly 10 minutes? I know in the agenda it says 15 minutes. Can I take the liberty of cutting away the 5 minutes so that I give everyone an opportunity to reflect on the different presentations? I'm looking at the time. I want us to go for lunch. It's Friday. We would like to leave so that we're all on time. I would like to open the floor by allowing any reflection on the different presentations. My team, can you assist with the mics, please? Any reflection? I'm just crossing my fingers, there's no reflection. Any reflection? No, when you say questions, there are going to be questions. So when you say reflection, it's a very nice way of saying no more questions. Any reflections? I know we're approaching lunch. I know it's Friday, but I'm a very open person. That's one. At least two. At least two. Thank you. All right. Let's start here.
Good day, everyone. I'm Iris Mate from DWS. My heart is on the beneficiation. We've got an opportunity here. As a country, we will never ever run out of sludge. It's, as long as we eat, we'll always have sludge or urine to reuse. We've got a lot of unemployed youth, and I would like us to look at how do we now scale up the research results that we have. How do we put it into practice, bring in all the youth together, and let's contribute to the economy of this country through sludge management and beneficiation. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get...
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's not you, it's online.
Thank you very much. No, I think the last couple of presentations were quite refreshing to hear from the technology point of view, and our last speaker just bringing that NPO voice. And I'm not sure in my mind which way we should do the partnership, but there's an opportunity for tech providers to provide a more holistic solution. And it's not criticism, but many is coming with a technical solution. And as government, we need a holistic solution, including what this last NPO is presenting. So it's either the tech provider then partners with these NPOs in more sustainable way to say, I'm not only bringing the tech, but I'm bringing you a solution. or government says, no, it's fine, I want the tech, and then I can procure the sort of social side of it separately. But I think it's important that we think about how do we want to structure it. Because at the end of the day, I think many times government has lost their trustworthiness. And when civil society like NPOs engage with communities, they gain more traction because often at the time they're more trustworthy. And so we need those NPOs and community-based organizations to come on board. And we must just find a space of where do we onboard them within the value chain.
I think the industry needs to evolve to include that social aspect, because when these technologies get closer to the household, to the community, that interaction, I think, is absolutely critical. So that means there's a rethink around how we design specifications, but how we allocate grants. And we've been having this discussion for a while. We need to rethink grants from purely the CapEx and the infrastructure point of view to put more of the grants into the O&M part as well as part of the budget that is coming online, but also to then add the social component build. I think there's tremendous value, not only from the circularity and the benefits we will get from it, but just the social build in the country over time with a project like this. It is far more than sanitation.
Thank you. Can I have also...
Again, Gerard Cronje, Mascom Water. Listening to the presentations, I think there's one, maybe two aspects that we can look at differently. One of that is funding/financing. So often we are looking at grant funding, we are looking at different ways of getting money from outside in. But so often do we have the money within? Because if you're paying for chemical toilets, you already have money. That can be used to implement WESS, and it can, because if you have a track record of paying for chemical toilets over a couple of years, you have a good track record and you can take that to a bank and it can become a bankable project. If you're paying for honeysucker, you already have money. There are so many ways that we already have money within, and we don't always have to rely on finding money outside. And that is very, very important. The other side is we focused a lot on what municipalities can do and what we do for communities. The one thing we did not focus on is what we do from a commercial point of view, commercial buildings, bigger developments, estate developments, etc. Because there is another opportunity in the WESS system, in the sense that you need people to install, you need people to maintain, there's job creation, there's skills development there. But when the private industry take this on, there's a number of benefits. The minute that a corporate in Sandton take the toilet flushing of drinking water and do it with WESS, they leave more water in the network for people in Diepsloot. The minute that somebody from a factory treat the wastewater on site and reuse it, there's less going to a non-functioning municipal system. It speaks positively to the community downstream. There's a lot that we can achieve when you bring in the private sector. And the last one there that I want to touch on is, if private sector take this up, enabled by municipalities and monitored by municipalities, then we get economies of scale and we start driving down prices, which again will benefit the community projects that we do. So while municipalities play a big role in delivering the service, we must not miss out on opportunity of municipalities enabling private sector to invest and to really drive this factor as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking at my time, and sure.
I mean, I think that last point is important around the fact that we need bylaws to regulate how services are provided in estates and on private land, because that's a key way that we can enable. Can anyone smell the lunch? I mean, that's just such a great framing for your input, Zach, Dr. Zach, we would like to welcome you. We're moving into practical. We're moving into how are we implementing this in real life. And so we're drawing on these exceptional, inspiring examples from both the profit and non-profit sector, and now we're honing in on a practical example before closing. From the city of Joburg, and from Joburg Water in particular. And so I'm handing over to you for 10 minutes, Dr. Zach. We look forward to being inspired.
All right, afternoon, everyone. I guess I'm the closing act. So I would like to put a couple of things into perspective. I know that we're all talking about finance, and you're talking about how to unlock the finance and how to use the finance to try and deliver services. To be honest, it's not as simple as that. And let's not be delusioned by this. Money is available, and technology is available. We need the medium to get the money from third-party investment into the actual projects themselves. That requires treasury. And right now, there are prescripts we can't use, but I'm one of the few who's been asked to try and unlock this in the country. So I am engaging extensively with treasury, with the, in this case, Minister's Office, as well as, of course, the City of Joburg as I still said the pioneer, since when it comes to, in this case, wastewater, most of the technology you see in Europe was stolen from South Africa in the 1980s. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. The Germans came in, took our stuff and left with it, and they came back, and now they're selling us our own technology. So Joburg Water, or Joburg in this case, has been in the front for a long time. So anyway, let me get back to what I'm here for, which is to look at a picture for the city going forward. What plans we had, what plans we do have. So I've listed, I think, 4 categories which are demonstrating the fact that we are moving and we are way ahead. For instance, we have a project already, which I spoke about, which the tender will come out in, hopefully by end of September, towards early October, where basically we're spending, 2 years ago it was about 60 million. I think the allocation now will be about 70 million for 3 years by Johannesburg Water into the informal space, where we're looking at WESS primarily. Our budget for, in this case, sanitation is quite extensive. We still have what we call LOS 1, 2, and 3. LOS 1 basically being where you're outside your house when if you need to defecate. And then, of course, LOS 2 is when the system is still pretty much also outside your house, except, of course, now you can have a waterborne type system. LOS 3, of course, is your normal standard system, which is in your household, and, of course, you flush accordingly. So we also have VIPs in areas and chem toilets. But from a CAPEX perspective, we have allocations to make sure we have alternative sanitation outside your house, meaning we're looking at LOS 2.5. That's what I call it from my side, which means that you are still going outside, but of course you can use your waterborne sort of flushing systems. And eventually we do have, in this case, I would say infrastructure. Then you can literally just tee into infrastructure, meaning your old waste toilet, or I don't call them that, I call them package plant systems, closed loop, will then basically become a normal flushing system, of course, with minimal impact on our services when we have, of course, the right capacity. So we have a huge budget on this, but of that chunk, we take a bit of that, and 70,000 of that, or million of that, will go into WESS in the next 3 years. That's the one element where we're really committed. Then secondly, of course, there is the current systems we have in Soweto, where we're looking for ways to try and improve how we do things. In fact, having looked at our systems and our limitations as an institution, I thought it best that we perhaps partner with the custodians of the technology. So we had approached, in this case, WLC to say, WLC, we have all these amazing systems on the ground. we have no training, we have no capacity at this point. How best to make sure they're still there in 2 decades? And my answer was that, of course, let's have the people who are good at what they do what they do best. So we're going into a partnership now. We get into a partnership, or we already have, I think. It's a matter of just getting the MOA in place, which is there, of course, with the figures, where Joburg Water is going to pay WRC to make sure they still maintain the systems the way they are on the ground, to ensure that, of course, the same standards which we envisage under the pilot are still maintained. Now, the spin-off of that is that we will try now and bring our own systems. So basically right now, we've got a huge tender going out, looking at chem toilets. So I approached the operations guys and said, guys, we're spending almost 200 million on these 3 years. Can I get a fraction of that money to try and drive, in this case, sanitation solutions? And they've said, yes, how much? I was surprised, because now I don't have a figure right now. So I must go back to my stakeholder relations people. We've got about 200, more than 200 informal spaces in the city of Joburg, and I need them to say which are the most critical spaces. Of course, it means we must go back to housing. Also, should I say, sorry, sir, human settlement. Before I don't get my money. Anyway. So ultimately, I will have to ask them to go engage with the Human Settlements Office to identify the areas which are most critical. Then plan on making sure we have at least 20%. Now that's putting us at about 20 million plus into now the systems which are more complex than the standalone systems. I want to replicate what we have in Slowville everywhere else. So I want to make sure I have communal systems. Of course, I'm not the Rolls Royces that we have currently in Soweto. I also had approached, in this case, 1 or 2 of the OEMs to say, yes, we have these fancy Chinese systems. Can you please simplify them so they make financial sense to me? I don't need an LED light, telling me where the toilet is. I need people to know where the toilet is itself. So take what you've got from the Chinese and bill them the gate, simplify it, and sell it back to me at a cheaper price. And they said, of course, we'll try to work on that. So I'm still waiting for an answer in that regard. But ultimately, I want to make sure we can then at least upscale these from what you've got. So if I can get 15 more in the next 30 years, for me, I'm quite happy. It's one avenue now where I can say I'm descaling, in this case, chemical toilets. So I'm using self-drivers, because in Joburg Water, or City of Joburg in general, we have many competing requirements. When you don't see water in your toilet, in your house, when you're told to come and flush, are you worried about what technology is doing, or are you worried about what's in front of you? And most of you are worried about what's in front of you. So for me to justify taking money away from that pocket to advance technology makes sense here, it won't make sense out there. So I must use the same money which is available to try and drive the system. And right now, excuse me, I do have, in this case, when it comes to chem toilets, 200 million. If I can get at least 20% of that or 10, that's money I can go somewhere. I do have money in comes to CAPEX, probably half a billion. From that I can get 100 million to these projects, we're winning. So now I'm demonstrating how much money there is which we can access to try and drive this narrative forward. Next one is that of package plants. Yes, bylaws. We talk about bylaws, we're talking about regulations, all those things are quite important. But from a functional perspective, we need to have guidelines on how to operate and manage, in this case, our package plants. I'm using package plants collectively as a word to include sewer, non-sewer, water, any treatment system. In this case here, right now we're talking about the closed loop systems, which of course are part of package plants. How am I going to manage it? Talking to developers. When you develop, how long do you, in this case, run it for? What happens when I now have infrastructure outside? So all these things are important. Again, regulations, environmental protection, such things, those need to all go into a guideline document which governs how I look and how I basically process everything when it comes to package plants. Otherwise, I'm going to be in trouble. I can't go to Senton and say, use this plant, because Senton is my highest paying customer. And we are also a revenue generation mechanism for the city. So if I now take Senton off my payroll, I'm in trouble. In fact, I cannot now use the same money and take it to the people who need the worst the most. So I need something to actually pay its bills for me to be able to make money to go take the actual technology into its most needed. So that's a balancing act that we have. What I do understand that we're all supposed to go out there and try and do WESS in its own thing. Ultimately, in the end, I also have other factors which I must consider. Again, all those need to be looked at from a guidelines perspective on how I operate. And I think, sorry, I lost my track there. But I think it's the same thing, same point, which is about nominal services. It's about self-drivers. So in this case, I can use CAPEX for household individual units. I can use OPEX to drive down, in this case, the cost of chem toilet, and also non-revenue water. So now I can go, for instance, to a place where I lose lots of water, especially there's a place called Zamimpilo. It's in some way by the city, where there's plenty of zamazamas. The cops don't go in there. You've got fire hydrants in there, basically, and these run 24/7 because they break them and the water keeps running. Now, how do I use WESS to try and deal with an aspect of non-revenue water? So now, if I now build systems or design systems in this informal space, which is quite dangerous, and make sure we have closed loop systems, that means all the water I could lose through remote flushing is saved. So we have to be creative about where we place these technologies, about what we're trying to achieve, but most importantly, we need self-drivers. And yes, we're in the news every day, for the reasons which you all know, we don't have enough money. Infrastructure is debilitating quite fast. It's old, to be honest. And I cannot blame that in the last 30 years. This has been a feature since 1950s. Most of our infrastructure is more than, was basically there more than 50 years ago, plus. So I don't want to make it political, it's not. It's reality. You put something on the ground, don't look after it, after 50 years, you're going to be in trouble. So basically from our side, at Joburg Water, we're trying to make shit happen. So lastly though, to the MMC, there was talk a bit earlier on this year, or not this year, earlier on in April, but possibly a budget needing to be used for this technology. Those conversations were informal, so I took them to my finance team and said, finance, it's April, we're done in 3 months. Can I take this money and try and make a plan? They said, no, that's called dumping. And I asked, in this case, human instruments to write me a letter saying, Joburg Water, we have a budget of so much. Do you mind assisting us with implementation? Meaning I want your money for me to do stuff on that side. Again, I'm raising funds to make sure I can deliver. So that's a commitment we have as Joburg Water and the city to making sure that at least we understand the narrative, we understand the landscape, and more importantly, we are solution-driven. Thank you.
Co-facilitator, come next to me. We take a bow. As the acting director for human settlement is approaching the stage.
It's actually going to be the MMC.
Oh, the MMC. MMC. Ditaola di tshwerwe. As we take a bow, you and I, we've done our work. Thank you.
Fortunately, I'm not the executive director. Fortunately. Thank you very much to our program directors. I would like to extend my greetings to all of your colleagues. I know I'm speaking for the first time. Colleagues, I'm not going to say anything. I mean, yesterday we were able to make our own presentation. But today is really to thank you for participation in this symposium. Seated there listening to all the presentations and submissions, I then realized that colleagues were actually late. The solution, the product has been there in the market for some time. We are late with the implementation. Let's not delay our residents. Let's not delay development. The challenges that were presented around your procurement, your policies, I mean, they've been ventilated and they've been responded to. So there is no hindrance, to be quite honest. There are no issues of funds, there are no issues in policies, there are no issues in procurement processes. Let's just implement what is already there. So I really want to thank all of you colleagues, the Development Bank of Southern Africa. We appreciate you a lot. The Department of Water and Sanitation, DDG, thank you very much. Department of Human Settlements, both the city, the province, and the national, Johannesburg Water, and all the entities of the city, South African Local Government Association, Planact, community leaders, all the institutions that were represented here today. We really thank you, colleagues. We had a fruitful 2 days. We learned a lot, and we are taking it back to the office for our proper planning. That I can tell you, colleagues, I will be on their case. I will make sure that they implement. I know that with the director, Bafonumalo, and the team in the department, we have already appointed a GPF for us to pilot this particular project. But I think we need to develop a concept document that is going to guide the implementation of the water efficient sanitation solution. We need to do it, colleagues. We don't have a choice. We need to do it. The residents in Region G, they are waiting for us. The residents in the informal settlements are waiting for us. I'm not going to say anything about Santin because it's a revenue base for somebody else, but I'm talking about the residents in the informal settlements who are waiting for us to give dignity to them. And as the Department of Human Settlements, as I've indicated, we have no other option, we have no choice but to give dignity to our residents. So thank you very much, colleagues. We will meet because I don't think we are meeting for the first time and the last time. We need to have continuous engagements with regards to the development of our people. To our program directors, thank you, program director and the acting program director. Thank you very much, colleagues. I really appreciate this work that we have done. I really appreciate these engagements. They were fruitful, they were productive, and as I've indicated, let's not meet for the first time. I know we are heading for elections. I might not come back as an MMC for human settlements. I might come back as an MMC for human settlements, but the work has to continue, colleagues, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. May we and thank you for convening us. I mean, that is what leadership looks like. Please, a round of applause for the MMC. Thank you so much. If all leaders watch and learn, can we please have Lungile, Londeka, and Katlejo give us the stand for innovation, the kind of work that has gone on behind the scenes to make this happen. Please, let's just say thank you. You women have done the most exceptional job. This has been complicated in the extreme. Where are you? Come. We want you in the front. Come, you two. Lungi, come. We need to see you. Along the front. For sure.
It has been sleepless nights, but I think what made it quite more exciting and a bit easier to deal with is the partners we worked with. They were as cooperative and we shared the same vision, which normally doesn't happen, especially when you have different functionalities. And programs. But it just comes to show that this item cuts across different sectors, and it has been a pain for different institutions who are trying to solve it on their own. I just want to thank my team. They have held it. It was a vision that I had asked them to run with, and they've birthed it as women do as we go into Women's Month. So, and my MMC, I will be lying if I don't say every time when I need someone to unlock above my level, he would run across all sectors and zigzag and come back. Is it sorted? Thank you so much, MMC, and the team Human Settlements. The city manager in his absence has also been that unlocker in everything else that needed to be unlocked. We're quite appreciative to have such a team, especially in leadership and executive, who don't mind to get their hands dirty and actually make sure things happen. Thank you so much to partners. There has been enormous requests for additional enrollment, or rather the reach into local municipalities. And so we will be taking that up, and it will be a different way in terms of how it come up. But this has been an exciting event for us, and we thank you so much.
Yeah, no, we'll probably speak gibberish. I always say when government works together, great things happen. So this was just a showcase of the collaboration and the partnerships working together. So that, for me, the sleepless nights makes it a bit worth it. But yeah, I've been saying I'm not going to do this again without... But yeah, it's a good extension, and also moving forward, we can then collaborate more effectively and more efficiently, and it just makes things work more seamlessly. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we can't stop saying thank you, but thank you to our panelists, our speakers, our presenters, our program directors, for indulging us in answering our emails in the middle of the night. But I think, yeah, it's a great showcase of collaboration, intergovernmental relations, partnerships, and I think we're all doing this for our residents. We're doing this for the city of Johannesburg, so thank you so much for the collaboration.
And let's thank IT, please.
Oh, yes, please. The program director, we'd just really like to thank IT, Mario, and the team, Anthony at Group ICT. Thank you so much. Thank you. You made us look good. Yes, there's food. Let's eat.